home run or Pujols 693?
Ooh, I didn't realize he hit one.
I think we should
Which
go
was a game winner, 1-0 game.
Pujols.
Scoreless in the 7th.
He hit a high.
Yeah, boy, what's that letter high?
His slugging percentage in his last 10 games is the best slugging percentage of any 10-game stretch in his career.
I saw that.
Think about that.
What the hell?
Good for him. I hope he does 6 more weeks of it.
He is going for it.
Then it needs to stop when they play the Mets in the postseason. So you want to push the starting five back to 7 o'clock?
Sure. So Wallach, when I was texting with him or DMing with him yesterday, he's writing he wanted to push it to Thursday because he's writing a big article on this.
Okay.
So I would imagine he'll have that done today or tomorrow.
Well, and that works out because tomorrow we've got
Pat,
Seth, Eric Amarola, a NASCAR driver who's from Tampa. Thursday.
Not a NASCAR driver that's going to be in town. Why would he come on the show?
I don't think we're going to get Chastain. He's making his media availabilities in the afternoon this week, so I don't think so. Still trying there. Thursday, we'll have Wallach and Mark Packer, ACC Network.
One minute.
They started a new show yesterday.
Who, the ACC Network?
Yeah.
Our conference. Who's in it?
No. That's funny.
All right, 15 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Happy Tuesday, where we ask the question, how the heck are you, Miller and Moulton? Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Hope your week got off to a good start yesterday. We think ours did. We think you'll enjoy the show today. We'll actually preview the very first college football game of the year.
We've got your week 0 right here, baby.
Not your Coke Zero, not your Pepsi Zero.
No. Your week 0. We got you some Cornhusker Wildcat action going on.
Yeah. Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. How you doing today? By the
I'm
way,
doing great.
it's a hell of a week starting off for you. Back-to-back collared shirts.
It's work to be done, David. Not all of us can jet set around the country. Some of us have to go to meetings.
Wow. We're starting early, Ed.
As Dean Smith's playing four corners over there, there's work to be done.
Well, we're in the final 10 minutes of the second half. All right, just to let you know, we're heading home, so to speak. Coming up by, I'll be next to you tomorrow. I promise.
Oh, that's fine. No, I've got to go to Napa today and test our equipment, make sure everything's up and running. We got a show we're doing Friday at the Napa and Boy Scouts, so going over to see John and in the gang over there today and making sure everything works right. That's all. So I can't show up in a t-shirt for that.
I understand. No, I'm impressed. We're trying. Okay, we are putting forth an effort here in our third act. I mean, because this is it. We're not going to have a fourth, so we figure this is it. We'll break out all the collared shirts. We'll comb our hair, the whole deal. We're going to give it the old college try.
Doing our best. God willing, we'll come out of here with a win.
Well, we will also head to Charlotte next hour because, to no one's surprise, they chose Baker Mayfield over Sam Darnold. And I don't know about you, Mark, but I am not going to criticize Matt Rule and the Carolina Panthers because my feeling, and I think that you have come largely on board with this, which is if you don't have a quarterback, you keep trying.
Well, first off, I'm a Baker guy. I think Baker got a raw deal in Cleveland. So that's part one. I think he can play a lot better than what most people do. I think that there's better quarterback play in Baker Mayfield than obviously what we saw last year. Now, I don't know how good this Carolina team is. We'll find out. Would love to see him get a healthy Christian McCaffrey for the entire year and see just what would happen with a receiver and a running back. That's all. So I'm hopeful for Baker and Carolina, although it's not that good of a team. We'll see. A lot has been invested on that defense. They were good last year. They're going to have to be good again this year if Carolina's going to try to somehow sneak their way to 9-10 wins. I don't see it coming.
Mark, you do a segment, and much of our audience doesn't hear it because we end the show with a few features. And by end the show, we mean at the end of our bonus hour. Most of our audience only gets us for 3 hours. We do a fourth hour for the audience in Southwest Florida, and they get to hear a few segments that we do, and one of them is called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. All right. Well, I have in my head a good, bad, and ugly in the sports world today, and I would just like to nominate for the good. And I hope I'm not stealing something that you're actually putting in your good, bad, and ugly, but usually your good, bad, and ugly is not sports related. But Mark, I would like to nominate as the good Hooters signing 51 offensive linemen to an NIL deal. Across 10 different schools, 3 of them in the state of Florida. Now, whoever their marketing people are, they need a raise. I'm just telling you that right now. This is well-placed dollars right here. 51 offensive linemen across 10 different schools. That's like Hooters also a couple months ago. Didn't they sponsor like Daly's kid?
Yes.
They signed him to an NIL deal?
Yes, they did.
Right. I mean, that fits. I mean, the old man has been a consumer of Hooters and has set up shop in many of their parking lots selling his gear over the last 25 years. I mean, that's just smart. And also take a look at his kid. He's had a few wings. I mean, you can go out on a limb and come to that conclusion. So that's my good in the sports world.
All right. The one thing about all this NIL, and I get it, it's about paying the kids, outside of paying the kid to go to your school, I'm trying to figure out what the benefit is for anybody with NIL. And I'm being serious here. So Hooters going to sell a lot more wings because they sponsored offensive linemen?
I don't know if they're going to spell or sell a lot more wings, but I think it at least, it jives, so to speak. You can have some fun with that marketing locally.
I agree with that. Now, the kid with the DeColdis name that's doing the air conditioning ads, that's brilliant.
Yes. And if you didn't hear that, that was last week. It was revealed, and I forget what school he's doing it for, but his name is literally DeColdis, D-E Coldest.
Nebraska.
All right, DeColdest. And so a local air conditioning company, has an ad around, man, we need DeColdest. And then sure enough, this kid appears and says, basically, you're darn right.
Because, and look, I think, I'm all for the NIL.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know necessarily, outside of the kid getting cash, if companies are going to benefit from doing NIL other than trying to build a national champion. And I get all of that. I don't yet see the benefit. We got into a little hot water in Act 3 because someone signed an NIL here locally. And the company wanted us to interview him. And we were like, why? Well, because he signed an NIL. Okay. What's the point of the interview? And we ended up not doing it. And the company was a little upset with us because they wanted us to do an interview simply because they signed someone to an NIL. Well, it's not newsworthy. Now, I think this is cute. I think it's a fun story. I don't know, hey, Hooters does just fine. I don't know anybody that goes there for the wings anyhow.
I just thought it was good.
I'm not
a smile on your face.
I am trying to figure out with this NIL outside of, I get the main reason, buying players to go to your school. Will there be a point when companies say, we're not getting a damn thing out of this. We can no longer afford to do NIL in the way that we're doing it. Unless it's Ruiz and he's a billionaire and it's just a hobby for
him. Yes, I do think that. But here's my thing about NIL. Are these companies, instead of writing out a check to a building, if you know what I mean, instead of writing out a check to an administration, to an athletic department, are they now spending that same money, but they're spending it in this way?
It's possible. But when I'm spending it with the team, they're making announcements during the game. Please support the following sponsors who are, part of the reason that Florida Gator football exists, or Seminole football exists, or Canes football exists. Now I'm sponsoring a player. I don't get those same benefits. They're a separate thing. I just wonder. I wonder down the road. It's the the collectives. As long as people are chunking money into these collectives and they can do everything they want to, I think they'll be fine. I just wonder if there's a point of diminishing returns for the companies who are investing heavily in NIL. Just curious.
I could argue, quite frankly, the point of diminishing returns in the money that they've been spending all these years. I'll be honest with you. I mean, you did sales and marketing for a long time for minor league hockey teams. And I mean, we could debate the whole value of marketing through sports, to be honest, and whether or not it's smart or whether, sports is very much an emotional investment. It's an emotional investment from the fans, but it's also times an emotional buy for sponsors. I want to be associated with this team. And it's usually because they're a fan. And I mean, we could even debate whether or not it's a good buy. I mean, did you ever sell and think to yourself, man, I have no idea how they're going to get this much. I know what I'm charging and I'll take the commission and this will be great. But I have no idea how they're going to be able to get this much back in return. Or did you, when you were selling, always think, man, this is smart. This is a hell of a deal.
David, I've sold two things mainly in my life. I've sold minor league hockey and I've sold sports radio advertising. I've been a humongous believer in the benefits of both. I've never been able to go out and sell something that I was BS in selling. I can't I don't have that in me. I can't do the Wolf of Wall Street and sell the pink sheets to you and feel good about the commission I'm getting because I'm selling you junk. That's not the way I operate.
Well, I feel like nowadays, these NIL deals, when these athletes post about what they're sponsored by on their social medias, that's like the modern way of promoting what they're sponsored with. So even an Instagram post could be worth.
There's no doubt for big time people that are followed, the sisters that just went to Miami that play is it hoop?
Yeah.
Yes.
The TikTokers.
Yeah, I mean, those two girls, that's a huge investment because they're posting something on Instagram and it's 3 million people are following. I don't know what the Oklahoma offensive lineman followers look like.
Right.
And again, it may be benefiting Hooters immensely. I don't know. It's an interesting way for them to shift their business. I think it's very cool. I don't disagree with David, but I think it's fun to sponsor a bunch of offensive linemen. I just merely ask, are they going to get anything from it? Are they going to actually get a return on the investment for that? As opposed to having a big Hooters banner on a plane that's flying around that stadium.
Right.
Saying 10 wings for $15. That's all.
Another fun one is JaQuincy McKinstry, a DB from Alabama. He goes by Kool-Aid, and Kool-Aid signed him to an NIL deal. So maybe he comes out with a Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
flavor.
I'm sure Nick will be all for that.
Oh, yeah. That's
Hey, Kool-Aid. Yep. Oh, yeah.
Nick, meanwhile, has made $101 million in salary since 2007.
Miller and Moulton. We will talk Nebraska and Northwestern in 25 minutes right here on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
If you own 6 Southwest Florida Napa stores and were a big NASCAR fan, wouldn't you put the two together?
How about bringing Chase Elliott to Fort Myers?
Friday, August 26th, Chase Elliott will sign autographs at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive in Fort Myers beginning at 11 a.m.
The best way to get in line, stop by one of the 6 family-owned Napa Auto Parts stores. Stop by the Napa Auto Parts stores in Fort Myers, 1820 Boy Scout Drive, or 4175 Palm Beach Boulevard. You can go to Cape Coral at 1220 Vizcaya Boulevard, 532 Pine Island Road in North Fort Myers, 17284 San Carlos Boulevard in Fort Myers Beach, or in Punta Gorda at 1810 Tamiami Trail.
Sign up for your chance to meet and get an autograph with Chase Elliott.
Coming Friday, August 26th at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive starting at 11 a.m. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts, flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com, flgolfcarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Was a walk-on player at a big school. It was a walk-on, someone that doesn't play. This year he's 4th string. And I'm sorry you don't like my take, Jimmy. I'll try better next segment. And it's been for over a year, Paul. I mean, it's been at least 2 years that they've signed. I think it's over a year they signed this kid. So if they've done it and you've not heard of it, are they wisely spending NIL money? That's just an actual question. I think it made an article in the paper. No, it's not a tax deduction because you're paying that person a salary. You can use it as a marketing deduction. It's a business expense, but it's not a 501c3 if you're paying someone to be an advertiser for you. Not at all. It's not a tax donation or deduction. Not at all.
It was reported locally. It was in the papers. I have no idea if it got TV airtime, but then again, nobody watches in the 239 anyway. Nobody watches local television for sports because, well, they don't cover it. Also, we kind of got sandbagged a little bit on that story. The timing of it was bad. We were heading into a vacation period when the story came out. And then when we came back, we actually meant to do it. It was at the end of our second act. And we got let go. So it was like, oh, snap.
Besides, that guy hates us anyhow. He's not advertising with us. We apparently didn't mention his name at a golf tournament 10 years ago, and he's still pissed. Holds a grudge more than Moulton. That's who it is. It's the Verot lineman. He's a fourth-string player at Michigan.
I miss the local sportscaster too.
I miss yelling at the local sportscaster.
Then there's that. It's another reason to miss the local sportscaster.
Whew.
That was a smooth double play.
That's a nasty little double play.
A nice little double play right there.
Yeah, Little League World Series, what we're talking about, just so you know, David.
Yeah, Japan, Nicaragua.
Nicaragua turned 2. And then in the 11th, oh no, are they going to win this in the 11th?
Or
yeah, they are. Look at that.
Oh, Nicaragua. Oh no.
No.
Oh,
he threw it.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We'll do things just a touch differently today. Normally, our next segment is the starting five. All right. But instead, we will do the starting five after. All right. After we talk to Gary Sharp next segment from Omaha. Gary has a morning show. And so we're actually talking to him before his morning show. Gary, who spent a handful of years in Florida, but now is a big deal in the middle of the country. It's also part of the college baseball World Series coverage on Westwood One. So it'll be nice to talk to Gary again. After all, apparently the entire Scott Frost era depends on the outcome of the Nebraska Northwestern game on Saturday in Dublin.
Well, if they lose, it certainly does, David. I mean, I don't know if there's a coach that has much more pressure on him than Frost does for a week one opener, especially when I think they're like a 10-point favorite in the game.
Well, Northwestern apparently hasn't even named a quarterback yet. That's how well oiled that machine is right now to start the season.
That's all right. We know Northwestern's better coached.
Well, yes. Yes, we do.
I mean, Jimmy the Greek can check the coaching box right now.
Did you see the list that came out? I mean, this is maybe the number one list month of the year in sports is August, because all the football lists come out, college and pro. And they listed who the best coaches in the Big Ten were. And of course, they rank them 1 through 14. And, it's a list that's very easy to disagree with. But they had Scott Frost 14th. Just for the record.
Tough way to start your year, Coach.
Coach, how do you feel about this season? Well, I feel pretty good. I mean, we're now, fourth year with the program, and we really think things are taking hold. Coach, you were listed as the worst coach in the Big Ten. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I very well may be. I'm just hoping we're about the 6th or 5th best team in the Big Ten, because then I'll keep my job.
Just trying to finish 3rd in the Big Ten West, actually. So first things first. Yeah. But Ryan Day was listed as the best coach in the conference. And come on. I mean, now, listen, recruiting is a big part of coaching. And obviously, he's got a great roster, and he's done a terrific job recruiting. And sure, obviously, he can coach a little bit. He wouldn't have gotten the gig. But, I mean, listen, you may not like him, but it's tough not to list Kirk Ferentz number one, right? The tenure he's had at Iowa, I mean, if you had to list the Big Ten coaches and it's easy in the SEC. I mean, it's not even worth bringing up in the SEC. But, I mean, if you had to vote, your first place vote for best coach in the Big Ten, like up until last year, Pat Fitzgerald might have won it. He, by the way, finished second.
I was going to say Pat Fitzgerald would probably be my vote. What he's done over the length of time at Northwestern is astonishing. That's probably where my vote would go.
And I'd have no problem with that. I think it's got to, between Fitzgerald and Ferentz, I think is where my vote would go. One of those two. I mean, because, let's be honest. At Ohio State, at, Michigan, you got some advantages there. I mean, you do.
Well, that's why Harbaugh would be pretty down on my list, because to me, up until last year, he's underachieved tremendously at Michigan with what the built-in advantages are.
So, there are all sorts of lists out right now. There's one I will probably bring up later in the show just to have Mark want to stab me in the neck. All right. But, that's one of the many lists that have come out in August, which is officially National Sports List Month, is August.
Today's National Cuban Sandwich Day.
Really?
Ooh.
Wow.
I know what I'm having for lunch. I know where I'm getting it, and I'm already excited about it.
I'm in the Northeast.
Yeah, you're out of luck.
Yeah.
I don't even think they know what a Cuban sandwich is in New Jersey.
Well, don't they do bread better up there?
They do. They do. It's all about the water, Felipe. But, you got to admit, there's a few places I can go for a Cuban sandwich. I mean, in the New York metropolitan area.
If you say so, it's just not something, it's a kind of a Miami-Tampa thing. I mean,
totally.
You can get a great deli sandwich. You can go to a diner and get yourself a fry and gravy and an open-faced roast beef that would be out of this world. David, I am not at all saying that you can't get good food today. But when it comes to the Cuban sandwich, the
Yes.
Sunshine State kind of has it cornered.
Totally. South of I-4, baby. Absolutely. Totally with you. No, Mark, I'm going Chinese today before I get on the plane. Okay. I got to get my fix. I've hit everything that I have needed to hit. All right, during my 4-day visit with Mom. All right, I've hit White Castle. I've hit pizza. I've hit just a big old deli sandwich. I've gone to a diner. Okay, the only thing that's really left is Chinese food. And I couldn't have it for dinner because my favorite Chinese place isn't open on Mondays yesterday. So instead, I'm going to have an embarrassingly big lunch.
David, do you have like a sentimental White Castle? Like a White Castle that you grew up with around?
Or even a pizza joint. Was this a taste of home? Was this something from a long time ago? Maybe not childhood, but teenage years. Do you still go to the same pizza joint? Because it's one thing about, things come and go in this part of the world. In Florida,
Right.
strip mall, 14 restaurants can change inside of 4 months.
Oh, yeah.
One good season, we can revamp the entire mall. Whereas when you're in the Northeast, there's a lot more tradition, a lot of places that have been there longer. Is there a go-to pizza thing that calls you home?
If the doctors tapped me on the shoulder and said I had a week left, I would go into the city and I would get John's Pizza. But where I grew up, there was a 3 or 4 store chain called Ferraro's. All right. And where I grew up living, there was that Ferraro's. But where my mom moved right before I went to college, there's a Ferraro's in a strip mall a mile and a half away. So yes, Mark, that is my local. When I'm coming to see Mom, I go to get Ferraro's pizza.
That's awesome. Because, even when I go home to Saginaw, there's Tony's steak sandwich. I'm going to get a Tony's. It's the only place you can get it is in that area. That calls me home. There's got to be something that's not a chain that calls you home. I can't allow White Castle to be that, although it rings of it, David. It's got to be that local joint.
And Felipe, you can hit a White Castle pretty much everywhere, but I will say they're a little greasier in Jersey than they are in St. Paul. Don't get me wrong. The 2 dozen cheeseburgers coming home from a minor league baseball game at the beginning of a 4-hour drive back to Fargo were just fine, thank you. Okay, but they are a little greasier and a little more taste of home in Jersey.
Still never been to a White Castle.
And that's why you look so good. All right, that's why your face has so much color. Okay, and the world is your oyster right now. You look as if your life is very promising. What is that list we did a couple weeks ago in terms of how many minutes off of your life?
Oh, right.
Every little thing is right.
The peanut butter and jelly good, the hot dog bad. White Castle
Right.
wasn't even on the list because it's so scary.
Right. Okay. And so I was literally sitting across from my mom and in the White Castle eating the 12 cheeseburgers 30 minutes off the plane. And my mom even looked at me and said, that list you guys did, how many minutes of your life do you think you're taking off right here? And I said, oh, probably about a half a day's worth, and I don't care.
The Castle. It is what it is, and David gets it by the dozen. We are Miller and Moulton. We will talk Week 0, Nebraska, Northwestern with Gary Sharp on the other side of the Florida Sports Network.
If you own 6 Southwest Florida Napa stores and were a big NASCAR fan, wouldn't you put the two together?
How about bringing Chase Elliott to Fort Myers?
Friday, August 26th, Chase Elliott will sign autographs at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive in Fort Myers beginning at 11 a.m.
The best way to get in line, stop by one of the 6 family-owned Napa Auto Parts stores. Stop by the Napa Auto Parts stores in Fort Myers, 1820 Boy Scout Drive, or 4175 Palm Beach Boulevard. You can go to Cape Coral at 1220 Vizcaya Boulevard, 532 Pine Island Road in North Fort Myers, 17284 San Carlos Boulevard in Fort Myers Beach, or in Punta Gorda at 1810 Tamiami Trail.
Sign up for your chance to meet and get an autograph with Chase Elliott.
Coming Friday, August 26th at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive starting at 11 a.m. Golfers, Are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, David. Oh, shit.
White Castle's the Grim Reaper. Oh, Trout's back.
Yep.
Not like it matters.
Think 2 games ago.
Might as well shut him down for the year. Oh, look. He's feeling randy.
He's killing the baseball right now. Hey, David, as far as the Napa thing goes, I talked to John yesterday. Just pump the event now because they're doing the drawings, I think, today for the people. So he's like, just get people to show up. He's I know we can't promise him an autograph, but just get people to show up.
Okay. Is he okay or no?
Oh, he's very happy.
Okay.
Very happy. Talked to him for 15 minutes yesterday.
That was a hell of a triple play. You guys saw Vogelbach 1 yard again last night? Oh, yeah, baby. I love that guy.
Man, there were a lot of Mets fans there yesterday.
You should have saw the weekend in Philadelphia. It was actually kind of embarrassing for Phillies fans.
I mean, even last night, the announcer spoke about it. It's a Yankees game.
Yep. It's difficult to explain to people. This goes all the way back. There used to be 2 National League teams in New York to 1 American League team. And obviously the Yankees are the greatest franchise in North American sports. But if you just think about that, all those Dodgers and Giants fans, those families didn't go root for the Yankees. They waited 5 years and they started rooting for the Mets. And you could ask people who covered when the Mets and Yankees are both really good at the same time, which has happened for like an hour and a half. But there are times where it really is a Mets city. People don't understand. And it goes back generations to the whole having 2 National League teams to 1 American League.
Yeah, the announcers pointed out, I thought that was fascinating. And, the Yankees have been lousy, so the tickets were probably a little bit easier to grab on the secondhand market in the last couple of weeks.
I will say, for a Mets-Yankees series with being two of the four best teams in baseball, it did not have nearly the buzz yesterday that I thought it would. Don't be afraid to get Gary on early because he's got a show he's got to do.
Call him right now.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Normally, we do the starting five. Right now, we will push that back to after the top of the hour because we're joined by a special guest, Gary Sharp, who called Florida home at one point in time, but now he's a big deal in Omaha. He is part of one of the best sports talk shows in the country, Sharp and Benning, which is now mornings on 1620 The Zone in Omaha. He's the voice of Omaha men's basketball. He's part of Westwood One's college baseball World Series coverage. Basically, he's a big deal, and he's joining us before his show. You can follow him on Twitter at Gary Sharp 1620. Gary, it's David and Mark. How you been?
Hey, good morning. If you want to send me your Venmo, I'll pay you for that introduction.
Hey, just want to pump you up before your show today because, let's face it, you got to talk Nebraska football, and there hasn't been a whole lot to talk about lately, so I'm pumping you up.
Hey, you guys know what the atmosphere is like around here, and especially when it comes to the fan base, and then you add sports talk to it, that we debate was a head coach joking about his players puking, or was he talking to someone else? Today will be, before the team left for Ireland yesterday, they have a video of Frost like sliding down a railing that people are debating, was that staged or was that real? Is the coach having too much fun? You guys know what it's like around here. This fan base and this program, they need a game 4 days from now in a desperate way.
They don't just need a game, though, Gary. They need a win. Just how much pressure is on Scott Frost for this game? How uncomfortable could life be if he doesn't get a W Saturday?
Yeah, Mark, I don't think they rebound if they lose against Northwestern. Now, they're surprisingly to me about a 13-point favorite. Now, the total has gone under 50, so I expect a low-scoring game. Last year, they beat Northwestern 56-7, and ironically, that's the last time they won a football game, and that was the first Saturday of last October. But with everything around the program, this is such a huge game because I think they feel like they've had a good camp, and they've had a good offseason. They've upgraded on the offensive side with their coaches. They have an influx of talent through the portal, so they feel good about that. You can't lose a football game to Northwestern, even though as odd as it is, you're going to Dublin, Ireland to play. And you got to come back and play next week. You don't get the week off. They have to find a way to win the football game because I think they are wound so tight right now. They need some validation if they feel good about their vibe that they have to win the football game on Saturday. If they don't, not only do I think people look in the mirror and go, oh, I know it's only game one, but you've also got the swirling of, okay, is Scott Frost going to be around October 1? Is he going to be around November 26th?
Gary Sharp, part of Sharp and Benning, morning, 1620 The Zone in Omaha. You can follow Gary on Twitter, Gary Sharp, 1620. We had Adam Rittenberg of ESPN on last week, and we were talking Big Ten, and asked him specifically about Nebraska. And why is it, in his estimation, it hasn't worked? And his conclusion was that Frost is trying to play the same style he played at UCF in the Big Ten. and that just ain't going to work. Is that accurate?
Yes, and I also think that his staff that he brought with him from Central Florida, there were some guys that he brought that were not equipped to coach Power 5 or coach in the Big Ten, and they had some hiccups along the way. They had some development at quarterback and at running back and at wide receiver where they were lacking. And that is a glaring hole that we've seen for the last couple of years. But Adam is right. Scott tried to bring Central Florida to the Big Ten. And there's elements that you can do, but you've got to have the kind of talent that Ohio State has to run that kind of offense instead of the Big Ten West where, you know what, you stop the run and you run the football. And Nebraska hasn't been able to do that. Ironically, the first year they scored a lot of points and people were down on the defensive coordinator. Well, that defensive staff, for the most part, has stayed together for 5 years. They play like a Big Ten defense. They're pretty stout against the run, and they find a way to stop the pass, and they've got better over the last couple of years. We'll see this year. Yeah, Scott finally gave up his play calling duties, which is a big thing. I mean, I don't know if he knows what to do. It's very awkward. He doesn't really embrace the CEO role, but his boss said, that's what you're going to do. Go out and hire an offensive coordinator. So he brings in an older offensive coordinator. Mark Whipple's 65 years old. He's been around the block. He had Kenny Pickett last year with Jordan Addison. We'll see if Mark Whipple, who's never been to the Big Ten, acts like a Big Ten team on offense if they line up and they run the football and be able to run the football when they want. Another element of Nebraska's struggles on offense, guys, they used to be known for their offensive line. They call them the pipeline. They have not been able to produce high-level offensive linemen on a consistent basis, and that's really started to rear its ugly head in the last couple of years.
It is another part of the game, and you didn't mention it, but special teams, they were disastrous a year ago. And when you lose 8 games essentially by a score, have they tightened that up? Because to me, that could be the difference between a winning record and a losing record based on how they lost some of their games a year ago, Gary.
Mark, you know this. You're a Michigan State fan. You saw the game at East Lansing.
Yeah.
That game was blown on a special teams blunder where the punter punted the wrong way from where the gunners were. Michigan State houses a punt, and that game completely changes when Nebraska was in line to upset the Spartans last year in East Lansing, and that would have really turned the season around. So that's an area where I don't think Scott has paid attention to detail. And in special teams, we've seen in the Big Ten especially, and in college football, you can win 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 games a year strictly on your special teams. So there was a guy that was on the staff last year as kind of an analyst, Bill Bush, who has been here before, who was really good with special teams at LSU. And so he's been elevated to that role, and they talk special teams nearly every day. So they started to pay attention to it. They went in the portal to get a punter and a kicker. I will tell you this, if Nebraska, which last year, unbelievably, they were 50% on field goals, 50%. I mean, the metrics are terrible on special teams, but they were 50% on field goals. If they can just make 17 field goals this year, which should be double of what they did last year, then I think they got a chance to win a couple of ball games. But they'll be better in that area. And I think you'll see that right away on Saturday, where usually that first game of the season, special teams are a little bit lax. I think Nebraska, that'll be one of their strengths on Saturday against Northwestern.
Gary Sharp, part of Sharp and Benning, morning, 1620 The Zone in Omaha. Follow him on Twitter, Gary Sharp, 1620. If we go back a handful of years, it was, well, hey, if Scott Frost can't win at Nebraska, then, well, Nebraska just can't be Nebraska anymore. Well, you've been around the country. You've got perspective. Do you agree with that?
Yes. The people that have come through Nebraska since Osborne and kind of Solich make it so difficult. There are so many built-in things that you can use as advantages here, but you need to pay attention to detail. You need to hire well. You need to recruit well. But most importantly, I think where Nebraska has lacked, guys, and I think we've talked about this in the past, is they will not admit out loud that they're a development program. They do have some advantages where they can recruit and have a top 25 recruiting class year after year. But they need to admit that they're a development program, and that's what they're going to do. They're going to get players in here, and they're going to coach them up, and they're going to turn them out. And they haven't been able to do that, and they're afraid to say that out loud, where you're in a division where Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, they say that out loud. They say, oh, yeah, we're not going to be able to recruit with the Alabamas and Georgias, but, boy, we're going to be able to develop players like them. If Nebraska is able to look in the mirror and admit that, then I think you will see them have some success. But I think this year it's minimum bowl game with the schedule and with their influx of talent, and I think a better coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball in terms of play calling. This is a team that should win 7 games, but I mean, we said that before. We only got 15 wins in the last 4 years. So who knows? They're a great mystery machine. And Saturday is a kickoff to whatever's going to happen with this season, because it's going to be a wild ride for this fan base.
Gary, I know you got to go. One quick final question. Did the fan base want Trev Alberts to keep Scott Frost? I mean, these are 2 of their own now that are at the top of this food chain. Did they want him to keep Frost, or did they want him to make a change?
I think a majority of people, David, they wanted Trev to move on. But they understood, and this is what I said right away, and I've known Trev for a long time, from his playing days to his time as athletic director at Omaha. Trev said, no one is worth $20 million to fire. You've made your bed. You're going to lay in it. I'm going to help you. I'm not going to allow you to tear down the program in case I have to make a change, but I'm going to make it beneficial for you to keep your job and for us financially to be okay if we have to make a move. So that's what happened in the offseason. And once they explained that, I think people are like, okay, but man, is this going to work? Because Trev even said, I don't know if this is going to work, but I don't think he was ready to make a change, because I don't think he had assessed the entire situation. But there is no doubt that Trev is like the GM of football, guys. He said, hey, you're going to go hire Mickey Joseph off LSU's staff. You're going to hire this guy. You're going to do this. You're going to be the CEO, hoping that all of these things in place will help Nebraska move forward. But the thing that will be talked about a lot nationally, locally, is they have this unknown metric of what that metric is for Scott to keep his job. Minimum, I say, bowl. Also, how it looks, if they have momentum, how they play, how the program acts, how they're the feel around the program, and probably most importantly, if there's butts in seats. If people aren't going to the games, man, as an athletic director, my ears start ringing, and then you got to make a change. So it's all added up, guys. This is my years covering Nebraska football. This is the most interesting and fascinating season I've ever encountered.
Gary Sharp, part of Sharp and Benning Mornings on 1620 The Zone in Omaha. His show starts in 12 minutes. Gary, thanks for making time for us. We appreciate it. All the best.
Guys, I listen from the 402. I appreciate it as always.
Gary Sharp. Sharp and Benning is the show. They're mornings now. They used to be middays. Of course, a consultant got involved. They actually broke them up. All right. I mean, it's only one of the top 20 sports talk shows in the country. All right. So, of course, consultant came in and broke them up. All right. Eventually, the fans basically said, listen, it's bad enough our football team sucks. Could you put the sports show back together again, please? So now they do mornings.
So Nebraska with a solid FCS schedule to start.
Okay.
Northwestern, North Dakota, Georgia Southern to get things going.
So in theory, all right, although those FCS schools are not easy, but in theory, they're 3-0. So where are we going from there, Mark? We got to get to 6 or 7.
Well, Oklahoma's the next week at home.
Well, they get them at home. And
then
Mark, that'll probably be the big noon game on Fox also.
Yep. So then they get a bye week. Then they have Indiana, at Rutgers, at Purdue. I mean, realistically, this team could be sitting at 6-1. It could.
Okay, what if they're 5-2? Now tell me how it finishes.
Well, Illinois, which should be a win. Then it gets a little tough, David.
Plus, it's Illinois at home, right?
Right.
Okay.
Then they finish with Minnesota, at Michigan, home for Wisconsin, at Iowa.
All right. So basically, they need to be 6-2. And then we'll see how we do in the final month. Unfortunately, Gary was talking about having some momentum, blah, blah, blah. That's not the best schedule to have some momentum. Could come down to he might be coaching that Iowa game for his job.
Yeah, I mean, that would, to me, would mean they've screwed up somewhere if he's coaching Iowa for his job. He better be at 7 by the time they get to the Iowa game, and then he's fine.
What do you think? When I was listening to Gary there talk about a developmental program, I was thinking Dan Mullen in Mississippi State. You know how Dan brought in the 2 and the 3 stars, and he coached them up and he developed them, and he managed to at least go 6-6 every year. His down year would be 6-6, and then he would have a 7 or 8 win seasons, and then he'd have that group put forth a 9 or 10 win year. Thank you very much, and let's do it all over again.
Yeah, I mean, Big Ten wise, I was thinking Sparty and Dan Antonio. I mean, that's how that program got started when he first came in. That's what Iowa does. I think he had the blueprint. This is what Iowa does. This is what Wisconsin does. But the portal is going to be extremely important to teams like this.
Well, don't you think? I mean, if Wisconsin can do it and Iowa can do it, shouldn't Nebraska be able to do it?
Yes. Yes, they should.
Think they will?
No. No, I don't.
And you know what the real problem is? You know, much like Harbaugh at Michigan, when it was kind of like, well, we got to stick with Harbaugh because, you know, he's our guy, and where else are we going to go? Well, it's kind of the same if you're Nebraska. Remember? I mean, Frost came and it was kind of like, okay, finally we got the right guy. Well, if this ain't working out after 5 years, where are you going to go? Well, thank you. Thank you.
I hope for their sake that he gets to 7-8 wins this year. I really do.
I do as well.
Football's better if the Nebraska Cornhuskers are a good football team. It's just the way it is. But they haven't given us that. They haven't had a winning season since 2016, for crying out loud.
Man, that's unbelievable. And not only that, Gary mentioned in fans in the stands at Nebraska. Man.
The starting 5 in its new spot for today. That's on the other side. Thanks to Gary Sharp coming out with us. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
If you own 6 Southwest Florida Napa stores and were a big NASCAR fan, wouldn't you put the two together?
How about bringing Chase Elliott to Fort Myers?
Friday, August 26th, Chase Elliott will sign autographs at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive in Fort Myers beginning at 11 a.m.
The best way to get in line, stop by one of the 6 family-owned Napa Auto Parts stores. Stop by the Napa Auto Parts stores in Fort Myers, 1820 Boy Scout Drive, or 4175 Palm Beach Boulevard. You can go to Cape Coral at 1220 Vizcaya Boulevard, 532 Pine Island Road in North Fort Myers, 17284 San Carlos Boulevard in Fort Myers Beach, or in Punta Gorda at 1810 Tamiami Trail.
Sign up for your chance to meet and get an autograph with Chase Elliott.
Coming Friday, August 26th at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive starting at 11 a.m. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, whoever said King's Kitchen there for the Cuban, I'm sure they're right, because King's Kitchen's phenomenal. All their food is just tremendous. But the little Cuban joint with the green sign and the drive-through on Alico and 41, it's like $6.50 for a Cuban, and it's a huge sandwich. Best bang for your buck down here.
How many national championships does Nebraska have?
Well, they won 3 in the 90s. 94, 95, 97.
Whew.
Split 97 with Michigan.
They went back to back?
Yeah.
Damn.
And the 95 team might be the greatest team in Nebraska history. Then again, it also might be the 83 team that lost to Miami. But
Who was the best player on that 95 team?
Tommy Frazier, if in college, I mean, they had
Right.
guys there who, were first-round picks in the NFL. But, I mean, Tommy Frazier was to Nebraska what Tebow is to Florida.
Gotcha.
Lindy, it's on 41, actually. It's basically where Alico dead ends into 41. It's in that shopping plaza. It's a big lime green building. I can't even tell you the name of the joint right now, but you can't miss it. I mean, you literally cannot miss it.
Yeah, I know, Irving Fryer. But they ended up scoring. It was just, listen, I always thought Osborne, the fact that he decided to go for 2 is such a man's man play. It was like when Jimmy Johnson went for 2 at Notre Dame. He didn't have to. Could have kicked the extra point, gotten out of there with a tie, remained number one.
I was watching the U was on the other day. I just happened to watch that part of it, and Wannstedt talking about, we were telling him to kick it and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And Jimmy's like, I never heard anybody tell me anything. He goes, there are assistant coaches and there's a coach. I mean, it was just, it basically sounds like they're all yelling at him. And Jimmy never, and Wannstedt even says, he never listened to a word anybody said there. And why should he?
But Tom Osborne hadn't won a national title yet. They come back from 2 touchdowns down, get it to 31-30, 30 seconds to go. Could have kicked the extra point. Ties were not frowned upon back then.
No.
Nebraska would have won the national title if he kicks the extra point.
I wonder if they're gonna show that clip of that guy dropping that ball again today on Get Up.
Oh, you mean Tannenbaum?
Yeah.
By the way, Yinzer, I saw that comment. You going back for the backyard brawl? You're going to be grazing, aren't you? When you go back, that's going to be a 4 or 5 day graze. I hear you.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. And, we understand we're the Florida Sports Network, but, first off, we got a lot of people from a lot of different places in Florida. And secondly, I mean, if we're gonna count week 0, and we've heard from many of you, I have in particular. Mark has always counted week 0. I'm the one that is not. And so we figured, well, if we're counting week 0, the big games, Nebraska, Northwestern. So we previewed it last segment with Gary Sharp from 1620 The Zone in Omaha. So we're getting you ready. It's part of our countdown. Our magic numbers are 3, 4, 9, and 16. 3 days until Chase Elliott arrives at a Napa on Boy Scout Drive in Fort Myers. He'll be there from 11 to 1. He'll be signing autographs for at least an hour of those 2 hours. So you want to take your chances about getting an autograph? There you go. Friday, Napa Auto Parts, Boy Scout Drive in Fort Myers. We'll be there broadcasting live.
Come on out. Rumor has there's even going to be a food truck there.
Whoa. Now we're talking. Now it's an event. Now
big
it's
food truck.
happening.
That's what I'm told.
Ooh, look at that.
Probably one of your favorites, David.
Huh.
It's the only tease I'll give you.
Okay, sounds good. So we're 3 days away from that. We're 4 days away from Nebraska Northwestern, and then also my favorite game of the day, which is Vandy at Hawaii, because it's not often an SEC team can go on the road and play a Mountain West team and be a touchdown underdog. And I'm laying the points.
They're a touch. Wait a minute.
Isn't it 6?
I thought it was the other way around.
Oh, okay. So I'm confused.
I thought it was the other way around.
So I'm getting points.
Vanderbilt is a touchdown favorite.
That's unbelievable. My goodness. I'm going to bet the mortgage. That's all. No big deal or anything. Just the mortgage on Hawaii. I'll bet the first half. I may double down at halftime. Not only that, all of you have to find out where CBS Sports Network is. I have to tell your favorite sports bar. Do you guys have this channel? I need to watch this game. So we're 4 days away from that. 9 days away from week 1, which kicks off with Pitt and West Virginia, the backyard brawl. Yinzer in our Twitch chat room is going back for the game. He announced he's basically going to be grazing like an animal for 4 to 5 days in and around that game, eating all his local favorites. That's how you start the college football season right there. You go back home, you just start grazing. Yeah. And it's 2 weeks from Thursday, 16 days away, Bills and Rams. I mean, they're cutting guys already. 4 o'clock today, they got to start cutting guys. Get down to 80. So, we got a lot going on, ladies and gentlemen. A lot going on. But right now, it is time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Nothing wrong with a little grazing, right, Mark?
David, I am grazing college football lines from week 0 right now. And Utah State minus 28 against Connecticut looks delicious.
Oh, you can make a lot of money all year just betting against UConn. That could be your go-to move of the year. You figure you got to go at least 8-4. Tom Brady returned to practice. Apparently he was on vacation with the wife and kids. So I'm guessing it went like this. He was talking with Glazer at that soccer match, back in, what was it, March, April? And he said, listen, tell you what, I probably jumped the gun because all my plans fell through with the Dolphins. So how about if I come back? I'll give you 1 more year, just 1 caveat. Well, 2. 1, Arians has to go. And 2, we got this family vacation already planned.
We booked a Disney cruise, and they don't want to give us the money back.
Right. And so if it's okay with you, I'll start training camp, okay? But then I'm going to go away for about, 10 to 12 days. You got a problem with that? No? All right, good. We've got a deal. So there you have it. So Tom's back.
And apparently looked phenomenal yesterday. It was like his best day of practice so far. Well rested, David.
Well, yes, and not only that, tanned. Carolina named Baker Mayfield their starter. This wasn't a surprise. Hell, this was reported the middle of last week.
Yeah, I kept wondering why this was a story yesterday, David.
Well, I think it was because technically Matt Rule did say at the beginning he was waiting until after the second preseason game. So I think even though he had apparently made his decision, he was, just trying to save face, Mark. Just trying to save face. Raiders called up Kenyon Drake yesterday and said, hey, I know we just signed you to like a contract extension, but here's the problem. I didn't sign you to it. It was the old GM and the old coach. So we're going to cut you. And that's going to cost them about $3.5 million against the cap this year, and nearly $4.5 million against the cap in 2023. So Kenyon Drake at 28 years of age, trying to come back from a broken right ankle in week 13 last season. Kayvon Thibodeau sprained his right MCL. He and the Giants got lucky. He's expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks. The opener's in 19 days, however. So that would seem to be missing week 1. We shall see. Mark, this should catch every Tampa Bay Bucks fan's attention. The Bills traded offensive lineman Cody Ford to the Arizona Cardinals yesterday for a 5th-round pick. Ford has been a pseudo starter for the last 3 years, drafted to be a tackle, has been moved inside the last 2 years to guard. Cody Ford traded for a 5th-round pick. Aren't these the type of moves that the Bucks, we think, have to make?
Yeah, they seem to be a lot more content than the rest of us think they are with this offensive line, David.
Vikings acquire quarterback Nick Mullins from the Raiders, which screams out that Kellen Mond can't play. That's what that screams out, and we need a backup quarterback who can at least line us up and run some plays if something happens to Kirk Cousins. And I mentioned it a moment ago, but the deadline's 4 o'clock today. Teams have to get down to 80 players, so expect to see a bunch of cuts today. Baseball, Rays beat the Angels 2-1. They now jump to the top of the wild card race, a half a game ahead of idle Toronto and Seattle. Aaron Judge with his 47th homer. Yankees double up the Mets 4-2. Texas beats the Twins 2-1. Minnesota's lost 3 in a row. They're 2 back of the Guardians. Braves beat the Pirates 2-1. They've won 12 of 14. They're 3 back of the Mets. Albert Pujols and the Cardinals keep on rolling. 8 in a row for the Cardinals. Pujols, a solo homer in the 7th. That's number 693, and that was the only run of the game. 1-0 Cards over the Cubs. Remember the Yankees traded Jordan Montgomery to the Cardinals?
Right.
Yeah, he threw a one-hitter last night, Mark, on 99 pitches. The game took 2 hours and 16 minutes. Milwaukee shut out the Dodgers 4-0. First time the Dodgers have been shut out at home this year. Phillies beat the Reds 4-1. White Sox lost to the Royals 6-4. Chicago's 3 back in the Central, but I saved it for last. We played Guess the Attendance yesterday. Marlins at A's. We put the over-under at 8,000. I badgered the two of you and said, we need to lower this to 5,000. So at 5,000, over-under, attendance, Marlins A's last night in Oakland. Where are you going?
I'm going under, and I did not look.
Under.
2,630.
Oh, my
That's got to be a low.
goodness.
That's the lowest.
2,630.
Wow.
For a Major League Baseball game. That's right. Can you imagine what that huge ballpark looked like? Because that's still, they didn't eliminate the seats, so it looks like the old Oakland Alameda Coliseum with all those football seats. I mean, they got about 55,000 seats there. They only use about 37,000 of them, but 2,630. Marlins won 3-0. NBA, by the way, the rumors are Memphis getting in the mix for Kevin Durant. Training camps are a month away. And apparently the stumbling block in the Utah Knicks trade for Donovan Mitchell, it's not the players and the number of picks, it's what kind of picks. Danny Ainge wants all of the picks to be unprotected first rounders. Well, obviously, it'd be better first round picks. Knicks are like, well, we'll give you two of those and we'll give you two of the other kind. So we'll see if something gets done. Mentioned it earlier. Hooters signs 51 offensive linemen to NIL deals across 10 schools, 3 of those schools in the state of Florida, Miami, FAU, and South Florida. Preseason football last night, Jets rallied from a 16-0 deficit to win and cover, Mark, against Atlanta 24-16. And Gary Gaines, does that name sound familiar? He's the high school coach made famous in the book and movie Friday Night Lights. He died yesterday from Alzheimer's at the age of 73. He had a 30-year coaching career in West Texas, best known for the 4-year stint at Odessa Permian, where he went 47-6-1 and won a state title. And the fans in that city put for sale signs on his lawn.
Just more important in Texas, David. I don't know what to tell you.
And that was
the Starting Five every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
To review, Marlins at A's last night in front of 2,630.
This wasn't against the Marlins, but did you see the other night the 2 fans at the A's game that were getting it on in the upper deck?
It seems to be a tradition unlike any other at A's games. They're taking over for Bills fans now. It's so empty. For a while, the Bills fans were doing that upstairs a few years back. Now it's the A's fans that are frolicking in the upper levels.
Honey, what do you think? We have our own section. Nobody's looking up here. Goodness knows there's no security. What do you say? Come on, honey.
Type of girl you want to bring home to mom right there.
I was going to say, come on, honey. Tell me you've never thought about doing it at the Oakland Alameda Coliseum.
Miller, Moulton, and Cosell calling something he never has.
Are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit, featuring band attachments to your feet and hips. Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
You sure you don't want to substitute Florida State for Colorado on this one?
Come on. They won the national championship 9 years ago.
I understand.
Last night I had a fantasy draft. I was supposed to start at 8. Then our commissioner forgot to switch it to a PPR league, so he had to extend it to 9, and I was not ready to freaking be there till like 11 o'clock. So I didn't get home till like 11:30, and I've barely gotten sleep. And that, Mark,
That's a you problem.
is a me problem. That's the Felipe me problem of the day.
Well, Mark, if you want, I mean, you could include the Canes too.
No, I know.
Hey.
I mean, although they did win the title in 01, but
No, I know.
so that's why it's probably best to keep the in-state schools.
Nebraska. We miss. I like these. Are we missing anybody?
Well,
Hey,
you know, Michigan made the playoff. Notre Dame's made it 3 times in the last decade.
When's Washington's last good year? That's the only team I was really thinking about.
26. They made the playoff in
Right, they
2016.
made the playoff.
Right. They're the last Pac-12 school in the playoff.
Yeah. So no, this is it. That's okay. All right, just making sure.
There's a whole generation of people who may look at that poll question and go, Georgia Tech. Yeah.
Well, Colorado.
Well, the two of them shared a national championship in 1990.
I know. I am so with you, Steve. The most exciting thing of the show today to me has been the bird feeder moving over David's head.
Well, the squirrels, man, they are all over it. The birds get on there.
I thought it was someone's head at first coming through the window.
No, go the other way. All right.
Oh no, leave him in Vitcher.
I'll give you more bird feeder.
I didn't mean to distract you, but that was for the audience. Felipe slept through 80% of the starting 5.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
full
down. Yep.
I'm just watching him.
Exactly, Hops. Yep. I'm talking about those guys.
I'll tell you what, if Georgia Southern or North Dakota gets Nebraska.
No, done. Fired, walking off the field.
And Southern's in the Sun Belt now. They're a D1 program, but
well, and they're a nightmare to play because all of a sudden you're playing the triple option.
Right. After playing the North Dakota the week before. Yes. I don't know, Scott, about that schedule. Who got that one for you? There was no MAC schools available?
So pod and poll question.
Yep. You got the play ready, right?
All right, I got my iced coffee. I'm back. I'm here.
He'll be asleep by now.
I was going to say. So, in honor of Felipe, I'm back in the saddle again.
That's Cap.
They went to the Big Ten, Adam.
Although they fell off a cliff. Oh, no, they didn't fall off a cliff before that. They were winning 9 games a year for a long time in the Big 12. And that wasn't good enough.
I remember when Washington made the playoffs and they got smacked by Alabama.
Although I think they held Bama to like 17 or 20 points. It was actually a defensive mudfest.
We're coming back.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes It's past the hour, top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. 3 days away from Chase Elliott, making an appearance in Fort Myers at the Napa on Boy Scout Drive. We'll be doing our show Friday live, 6 to 10. Chase will be there by 11. He'll be signing autographs in some way, shape, or form until 1 o'clock. And, well, stop on by. There'll be food. I don't know if there'll be games and fun for the kids. I'm not going to, be that guy selling
Well, the
that.
kids are going to be in school. So if you got the kids with you, you stuck them out of school to get an autograph, which.
Yeah. Well, use the kid as the prop to get the autograph.
Good job by you. Anytime you're sneaking the kid out of school for an autograph for a NASCAR driver, I'm all for that.
Right. The good old boys are in Daytona for the race. I think it's Saturday night. So, and this is the final race, right? Before the playoff. I mean, this is it. You got to win to get in, baby, for a bunch of drivers.
That's the truth, man. What a season. What a season they've had.
Yes. Yes, they've had 15 different winners. They have 16 drivers make the playoff. And so if you win, you're automatically in. Kurt Busch, by the way, who has won, but has missed like the last 6 races because of a concussion. If somebody who hasn't won wins Saturday, he's out because of where he stands in the point standings. So there's that dynamic to the race as well. But anyway, we'll have Eric Amarola, a Tampa native, on the show tomorrow at 9 o'clock. But 3 days away from Chase Elliott, 4 days away from week 0, 9 days away from week 1, Pitt and West Virginia kicking off the 5-day extravaganza to the start of the college football season, and 16 days away from Bills Rams. So there.
I like it.
And cuts later today. Teams have to get down to 80 by 4 o'clock today.
We've got the poll question up. The show's been a little sporadic because we had Gary Sharp on this morning talking a little Nebraska, Northwestern, and that's kind of led us to our poll question. Which college football program of the 80s and 90s is most likely to return to prominence? Nebraska, Tennessee, Georgia Tech, and Colorado. Ouch.
And I know what most of you are thinking. None of the above. I know. That's not an option. All right. You got to pick one.
Yeah. You got to pick one.
Right.
It's just which one do you pick? And this is by process of elimination. I don't see Colorado doing it. Although now with USC and UCLA leaving the Pac-12, maybe there's an opportunity.
See, and you don't know, are they going to stay in the Pac-12? Is the Pac-12 still going to be around? Could they be moving into the Big 12? Will that be a good thing?
Georgia Tech, I don't see it. I just don't see it. I know that was once a great program. I don't see it. Tennessee, the most likely. In Nebraska, I'll vote Tennessee, and Colorado would be my honorable mention because of what's happened with their conference, that they may actually have an opportunity, be it the Big 12 or the Pac-12, to get a little something going with a lot of other mediocre teams. But I picked Tennessee because there's just more money in the SEC.
Oh, and it just means more, Mark.
Right.
I mean, that's what I've heard. I could argue there's more money in the Big Ten. Starting soon, anyway.
Nebraska getting a full share yet?
I think so.
Okay. Just making sure.
I think so. Put it this way. They should have after 2 years ago. I mean, they were the ones who were the first to make a big stink in 2020 about, what do you mean we're not going to play football this year? Well, then we're going to play. We'll schedule our own damn games. The hell with you, Big Ten. Big Ten's like, you can't do that. They're like, hell with you. In fact, we don't even want to be here. To be honest with you, we really don't.
Big Ten should have thrown them out right at that moment.
They were probably 24 hours away from doing it. The only problem was Ryan Day at Ohio State said, they're right. What do you mean we're not playing football this year? And Nebraska's like, yeah, see? Told ya. That's been Nebraska's.
You look at the gets for the conference. Nebraska was thought of as a get for the Big Ten. Penn State's been a get. USC will be a get. Texas and Oklahoma are a get. Missouri's not. Nebraska's not.
Although, let's be honest, how many people thought Texas A&M would be a semi-get for the SEC?
Turned out to be a lot better get than we thought.
Right. Even though they've yet to appear in a conference championship game, but Johnny Manziel, and then it looks like now Jimbo's maybe building something significant.
And David, without that A&M get, I don't know if you're getting Texas and Oklahoma. I think getting A&M greased the skids for Texas and Oklahoma to look at the landscape and go, we're getting passed by Texas A&M. That can't happen. So that get, to me, led to the other two.
It is rich that Texas is now trying to catch up to Texas A&M. But so that's our poll question. But also, it's normally this time, be honest with you, we're an hour late. We've started a new thing. This used to be the time that we debuted something. Now we're trying to push it earlier, so now let's do it again.
So we got the poll question out. That means we get to the Clutch Vodka play of the day. It's time for that. Clutch with a K. And it's no one else than Albert Pujols doing it again. Pujols goes yard last night.
The 1-2. And Pujols hits it out to deep left. At the wall! Gone! 693! 693 home runs. A historic home run. The 449th different pitcher he's hit a home run against. He's tied with Bonds, first all time. Also his 30th career homer at Wrigley. 693.
Cardinals Radio Network is Albert Pujols. 693, but then also 449 different pitchers he's hit home runs off. That ties Bonds with the most for anybody to do so. And, David, you were not joking. You were being dead serious. I want him to catch A-Rod. Can he get to 700? Hey, I thought A-Rod was a stretch. I'm starting to think that 700 is realistic as well with what's going on with Albert Pujols right now.
He's on a roll. In the last 10 games, his slugging percentage is the best it's ever been in a 10-game stretch in his career. Think about that. He's 42. That's how much of a roll he's on right now. He's hit about 6 home runs during that stretch. He's now at 693. A-Rod's at 696. So he needs 4 home runs to be 4th all time behind Bonds, Aaron, and Ruth. I know nobody cares about this stuff like they used to, but I'll say that again. He'd be behind only Bonds, Aaron, and Ruth.
He is going for it. I respect it.
3 to tie, 4 to pass, and 7 away from 700. Oh, by the way, that was the only run of the game last night in a 1-0 Cardinals win. They've won 8 in a row. They're 5 up on the Brewers. Let's not forget that. They kind of care about baseball in St. Louis.
Well, that's the other part of this. They have just taken this division here in Milwaukee's not even in the playoffs. They're what?
Game and a half out right now behind the game and a half behind the Pods and Phillies, I believe, for the wild card.
So that's our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Clutch Vodka. Be on the lookout for it. When you're drinking your Clutch Vodka, post it on Instagram, Clutch Spirits. Go to clutchspirits.com to learn more about Clutch Vodka coming to a Total Wine near you very, very soon. Miller and Moulton. We will switch gears and talk a little Carolina Panthers on the other side. Frank Garcia, former Panthers O-lineman, joins us next on Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
No, Frank Garcia never played for the Bucks.
So I just got a question from Buckley. Pujols or Cabrera? Who would you take?
All time?
Yeah.
Pujols.
I mean, do you lay the 13 with Nebraska? Can you do that?
Seems like a lot.
Boy, does it ever.
Did anyone in the Twitch chat watch House of Dragons, the premiere, the Game of Thrones new show? It was so damn good.
Wow. Like the Michigan poll question here, the X's and Bros show. Over under 23.5 wins for Michigan, Michigan State, and the Lions combined.
23. Ooh.
Wait, Michigan
Michigan
State,
and
the Lions?
Lions. I'd go
Over.
over
Yeah, I'll go over.
because I think the Lions get to 7.
And then Michigan wins
Michigan wins 9 or 10.
9 or 10, yeah.
Michigan State should win 8.
Yeah, that adds up.
That's 24, though. I mean, that's why that's such a good number.
I drafted a Dr. Roto fantasy football team last night.
There you go.
Like, top to bottom. I took Pacheco, like, late. My RB2 is Damian Pierce.
I don't care.
No one cares. I will say, Felipe,
nobody
in all
cares.
seriousness, if you're going to do this for a career,
Oh, no.
no. Listen.
Okay.
No one cares about anyone else's fantasy team. It's awful radio. That I'm serious. This isn't a knock on you. This is a knock on everybody who does this. No one cares about somebody else's fantasy team. So just keep that in mind.
I know. I wanted to keep it brief.
Well, for 22 years old, you seem to know everything. Apparently, we don't know anything. There's nothing we can teach you.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
It's 22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. We've already had Gary Sharp on from Omaha, looking ahead to Nebraska Northwestern, the first college football game of the year this Saturday.
13 points Nebraska's a favorite by in that game. 13.
Northwestern seems to be a bit of a mess. Awful year last year. They've yet to name a starting quarterback, so people don't think they're going to score a lot of points. But still, even if they score 10, it means Nebraska's got to score 24. There are a lot of people that think now that Martinez, the turnover machine, is no longer Nebraska's quarterback, that Nebraska will be respectable, at least. I hope so.
Hope so for their sake. The schedule's there for them early that they could get this thing to 6-1, even with the loss against Oklahoma. But they're going to have to, they've got to take down Northwestern. They are a 13-point favorite, as someone has spent their time staring at lines all morning long.
Frank Garcia is kind enough to join us once again, longtime lineman in the NFL, mostly with the Carolina Panthers. He's also part of the WFNZ sports radio team. You can follow Frank on Twitter, Frank Garcia _65. Frank, it's David and Mark once again. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Listen, before we get to Baker Mayfield, and I know we asked you about this briefly the last time you were on, but now that Moore has gone down with the Big Ten, and it seems as if Oregon and your alma mater, Washington, are seriously considering this, how would you feel as a former Husky about being in the Big Ten?
I mean, at the end of the day, I think that tradition still means something. It's disappointing that, that the Pac-12, which used to be the Pac-8, turned to the Pac-10, is now kind of dissipating, and everybody's running for the money. But, that's kind of the way college football is trending with, these super-powered leagues that are forming. So I think that it's smart to get on board and continue to push towards that direction to be a part of a league, because I think if you don't, you're going to be left in the cold and, not have a chance to play for national championship.
Well, Speaking of playing for things, what are Carolina going to be able to play for this year? We know Baker's there, and Frank, I'm as concerned as any. I want to know about where you played the offensive line. Talk to me about the Panthers' offensive line, because no matter what Baker does, he's got to be protected. He wasn't last year, and that's why he got banged up. What do you think about the Carolina offensive line?
Yeah, I think it's going to take time to gel. They're going to need to get a little bit of cohesion in order to play together, and I think that'll happen after 3-4 games, and that's what the preseason's for. But when you're talking about, these great offensive lines that are going to carry teams to championships and be the foundation of what you're trying to establish and build, it's going to take a little bit. And I think they have some good pieces. I think they have a young left tackle that's going to need some help initially. He has great feet. I think he's suited more for a left guard type of position, because of his lack of length. But I think that he will be a guy that can play, at a position if he establishes himself there for at least a decade, because I think he's that good of a player. And I coached him in high school, coached against him in high school as well. So I've seen this kid grow, and he's going to have a chance to be, a special player if he continues to develop, his skill set. But the rest of the group, the center, I think, is an upgrade. Right tackle with Moulton, I think, is a 10-year type of player. He's a road grader, a guy that moves people out of the way, and that left guard position is kind of still the question mark. What are you going to do with that position? But the first time, I think in a long time, they have some depth, and I think that's the biggest factor going into a season, is that you have a rotation of 6-7 guys that can all play.
Frank, was it obvious that Baker was the starter, or do you think that the organization made the decision the minute they traded for him?
Well, I think that's kind of, they never really said, but I think coaches make trades knowing what they have and what they want, or what they, appear to want. And I think that they wanted Baker Mayfield. That's why they went and traded him. They can't just put a guy in there and leave Darnold out, in a cold. But Darnold's a kind of a good soldier, a good teammate. He's going to fall on the sword and do what's asked of him. And I think honestly that's a better role for him for the time being. Kind of get his legs back underneath him, and maybe develop some confidence and just watch the game for a little bit instead of having to be out there in the fire. And that's where Mayfield's going to help step up. And I think they're both honestly about the same player. Mayfield might be a little bit more athletic, but I think the one thing that he has is that charisma and that leadership quality that Darnold just doesn't appear to show, at least from the outside looking in. So, that's the one thing I think that captures me versus those two. It's not the skill set. It's not those type of things. They're both about, equal talent, but it's the leadership qualities, the heart, those type of things. That's not to say Darnold doesn't. He just doesn't show it the same way. He doesn't wear it on the sleeves the same way that Mayfield does.
A lot has been invested draft-wise on the defense over the past few years. What does the D look like? Is it going to be the strength of this team this year, Frank?
No, I still think the offense is going to be the strength of this team. You have all the playmakers over there that you need. You just have a guy. You need to have a guy that's going to be able to orchestrate it, make plays when it counts, and that's what they're expecting Mayfield to do. But defensively, they're still young. There's still some concerns for me. And J.C. Horn, I think, is going to be a significant upgrade, for the defense, if he can stay healthy this year, because I think he was playing, at a Pro Bowl caliber before he got hurt. So he has that type of potential to go out there. Dante Jackson still is a question mark and always has been for me. Undersized guy, takes chances, he takes risks. But he's a ball hawk, and he somehow gets the ball in his hand. He gives up big plays, but he makes big plays. So, that's the give and take you have with him. At linebacker, they got to get Shaq playing back at the level he did last year. I think he had a heck of a year, but they got to get the other guys on pace. But most importantly, they got to get some depth, more depth up front. And I think that's where they got wore out. When guys got injured, people ran right at them, and if a team is able to run the ball and dictate the tempo of the game, then it's going to be tough for the defense to get off the field, and it's going to be tough for that offense to go out there and make plays.
Talking with Frank Garcia, longtime offensive lineman in the NFL, most of them with the Carolina Panthers, and he covers them for WFNZ in Charlotte. You can follow Frank on Twitter, Frank Garcia _65. Frank, this is a bit of a scheduling anomaly. Panthers play 4 of their first 5 at home. And we all know the noise in the system about Matt Rule and how long he's got and, how many wins they need and all that. Does it maybe because of the schedule kind of force them to, they better get off to a good start because otherwise they're going to hear a lot of boos at home and then they got to play the majority of their schedule on the road afterwards? Does it kind of put even a little more pressure on the early season performance?
Well, I think we put that pressure on them. That pressure exists for those coaches on a daily basis. They understand the deal. You have to win or you're gone. And regardless of whether that's home or away, but yeah, I think as far as the fans go, when we look at the schedule, we say that they better get off to a quick start because, they have a tough road schedule after those first 5. So, they start with Cleveland. And, that's going to be a heck of a test because I think Cleveland is going to be a team that, has really got some things to prove. And that they have a great running game. They have one of the best lines in the game. And defensively, they keep getting better. So, they play in probably one of the tougher divisions in the NFL. So they're going to be road tested. They're going to be ready to go. The Panthers have to step up and, get off to an early start. And I think that's what's going to be really important, not just for Rule, but for, just the team in general and, having a little confidence. And if Mayfield can go out there and make some plays against his old team, then you're going to see this team play with a lot of confidence. And I think that'll help them. I ultimately don't think they're a playoff team, but I think that it gives them maybe 1 or 2 more wins than I would expect them to get.
What are reasonable expectations for this team, Frank?
Reasonable expectations for every team should be make the playoffs. I mean, with as many games as they play, as many teams as make the playoffs. If you're not a playoff team, then you need to do a lot of readjusting, a lot of calculating, and you're going to get some better players. And obviously that injuries and health comes into factor with that. But if healthy, when I speak like this with all these other teams, when healthy, the Panthers have a chance to be, sneak in the playoffs. I think the division is down. I think they can compete for the division if a couple of games go the right way. New Orleans is going to be kind of the question mark, I think, for everybody in the division. I think Tampa's still the top dog, and where do the Panthers kind of slide into that when it comes to the playoff hunt?
As always, Frank, we appreciate your time. Hope all's well with you and the family, and hopefully we can do this again sometime during that 4 out of 5 at home first stretch, okay?
You got it, guys. Call me anytime, and I always appreciate it, and appreciate your time. Thanks for having me.
Frank Garcia, you can follow him on Twitter, Frank Garcia _65, joining us here on Miller and Moulton. Remember, they got off to a 3-0 start last year. Then the injury started. The big one being, of course, McCaffrey. And then they proceeded to go, 2-12 the rest of the way. Hello.
Well, they open with the Browns. Then they play at the Giants, home for the Saints, home for the Cardinals, home for the Niners. Get them a 3-2 start. That would be fantastic.
But you have to admit, let's face it, most of the NFL are 1-score games. So, even if you're a 6-11 team, you get somebody at home and, what's the spread it's 5. So, it's a winnable game. And, they get the Browns with Jacoby Brissett. They get the Saints. Listen, you and I are fairly high on the Saints compared to most. But what if, Dennis Allen's not a successful head coach? Jameis hasn't been a successful starter in 3 years.
Starting the season a little banged up, too, so for what it's worth.
And quite frankly, Arizona early in the season with no DeAndre Hopkins, and they obviously have a few things going on. They just had to trade for an offensive lineman yesterday.
But you have to admit Arizona is one of the best September teams there is in the National Football League, David.
Well, that is true. That is post-Thanksgiving, not so much.
They suck.
No. but they have gotten off to fast starts under Kingsbury. And then also you get the Niners early in the season. I mean, that'll only be Trey Lance's 7th career start when the Niners come to town. I mean, I think if you want to play the Niners, don't you want to play them early? So if you're going to get off to a good start, and all the games we just mentioned are at home, and the road games, what? The Giants?
That's it. You're right.
I mean, that's not bad. It's doable. So like you say, if they're not 3-2, this season's going to go to what in a handbasket.
Really quickly. And I worry, you look at a team, I mean, Frank Garcia saying that the offense is the better part of the team. They scored like 300 points last year.
Right. I sense the number 22 guy's important, though.
He is.
I mean, how important is he? And you know me, I'm not good at fantasy. I don't really pay attention to fantasy, but it's my understanding that if you have like the top pick in your fantasy draft, that you may seriously consider taking Christian McCaffrey.
100%.
Right. So that would seem to indicate to me that he's fairly important.
Miller and Moulton. And yes, he is fairly important. There's no doubt. Where would you rank him as far as most important players in the league to their team?
Who, if we're going non-quarterbacks?
Take quarterbacks out of it. Take quarterbacks out of it, because we all know that.
I would say top 5.
And I might say top 3.
I think
for that offense.
I think Aaron Donald, TJ Watt, if I had to pick a couple guys on that side of the ball. And then, he'd be right there. He'd be right there. Maybe I'd go just Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor, to be honest.
And I think McCaffrey might be more important than Taylor. Maybe not as important as Henry, but it's right there. We shall see. I want to thank Frank Garcia for coming on the show today. All of our guests. You can catch anything that you missed. Download the podcast. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com as well, where you can pick up anything that you missed on the show. No Pat Kerwin this week on Tuesday. He will join us tomorrow. So the normal time for Pat has been moved by 24 hours. We'll be back with more in a moment. Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
If you own 6 Southwest Florida Napa stores and were a big NASCAR fan, wouldn't you put the two together?
How about bringing Chase Elliott to Fort Myers?
Friday, August 26th, Chase Elliott will sign autographs at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive in Fort Myers beginning at 11 a.m.
The best way to get in line, stop by one of the 6 family-owned Napa Auto Parts stores. Stop by the Napa Auto Parts stores in Fort Myers, 1820 Boy Scout Drive, or 4175 Palm Beach Boulevard. You can go to Cape Coral at 1220 Vizcaya Boulevard, 532 Pine Island Road in North Fort Myers, 17284 San Carlos Boulevard in Fort Myers Beach, or in Punta Gorda at 1810 Tamiami Trail.
Sign up for your chance to meet and get an autograph with Chase Elliott.
Coming Friday, August 26th at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive starting at 11 a.m. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
DirecTV and Amazon Prime just worked out a deal so that they can show Thursday night games in the bars.
That's a big story.
It literally just happened. I mean, according to a couple of things, the Bengals franchise Jesse Bates here in the last couple of minutes. And either Kaplan, one of the sports business guys, just put that out there.
Oh, so he signed it because I think they franchised him, but he didn't sign the tender. So
He's in the building. He's in the building.
Gotcha.
Reported back today, apparently, according to Kelsey Conway. She's the beat reporter for the Cincinnati Enquirer. And John Arand tweeted the story about DirecTV and Amazon. Since Giancarlo Stanton's absence from the lineup, only 18% of Aaron Judge's pitches have been fastballs. And 1 of 5, he gets a fastball in the zone. Less than 1 in 5. Leads the league in breaking ball pitches to him. Think they need him back?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got plenty of news, Adam. He's back at practice, and he looked great yesterday. That's what I got for you.
Ten seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is hour 3 of Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. Normally, it's a Pat Kerwin time period. Pat's got stuff today. So he said, hey, can I do it tomorrow? We said, sure. So Pat Kerwin and Seth Everett in the 8 o'clock hour tomorrow. By the way, Daniel Wallach on Thursday. There's more stuff going on with the whole Florida sports gambling thing. And we'll have him on Thursday in this hour to talk about it. Also, by the way, in the bonus hour tomorrow, Eric Amarola, top 20 NASCAR driver, Tampa native, needs a win to get in the playoffs. We'll talk to him on the eve of Daytona. And speaking of NASCAR, Chase Elliott, Friday in Fort Myers, the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive. He'll be there beginning at 11. He'll be leaving at 1. He'll sign a bunch of autographs, not for the entire time he's there, but for a good chunk of it. And while people have, certain passes in their place in line, you are invited to come on down. There'll be food. There'll be games. There'll be music. There'll be fun. I don't know about the games and the music.
Doesn't really
fun.
know about any of that, but he just
No.
went all radio remote right there.
I did, like at the car dealership.
Games for the kids.
Right, exactly. Come on down, and while you're here, buy an F-150. Right. Friday at the Napa on Boy Scout Drive in Fort Myers. We'll be there doing our show from 6 to 10.
For as many plugs as we give and for as many ads as we do, why the both of us make that voice whenever we do a mock on it is really rich if you think about it.
That is true.
I mean, we're pumping Clutch Vodka, Napa, and Southwest Florida golf carts, and this and that and the other thing. And then every time it's not something we're promoting. And
although I have to admit, I wouldn't mind a this or that and another thing.
Fair enough, David. Fair enough.
Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. Hey, I think during the break, for those that are watching us on the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel, they heard it, but that this is a significant story that apparently has just happened.
It appears that DirecTV and Amazon have come to terms so that you'll be able to watch Thursday night football in sports bars. Doesn't do anything for you at home, but Amazon and DirecTV worked out a deal so that the Thursday night Amazon Prime games will be available in bars and restaurants across the country.
Well,
it's great for the sports bar. No, it's great for the sports bar. It's not good. It's great because they've done everything they can do to close out the sports bar for people having to go watch. There's not much we have to go watch that's not on in our house anymore.
So if you're not an Amazon Prime customer and you're not going to subscribe to Amazon for Thursday Night Football, you can go to your favorite watering hole this year and catch it. Amazon, by the way, has nothing to do with Thanksgiving. All right, that's the big three networks. So while and they don't have the opener, they don't have the Bills and the Rams. So those are the two Thursdays where it's not on Amazon.
And as much as a lot of you were hoping that they would put the Lions Thanksgiving game on Amazon Prime so you didn't have to watch it, that's not the case.
Come on now. Listen, the Lions, they might actually be, part of that billing, if you know what I mean, as opposed to so-and-so and the Buffalo Bills taking on the Detroit Lions. They might actually be pumping up the Lions. Lions could be 500 in that game.
I'll take the bet.
Okay.
I hope I'd be happy to give you the $20 if the Lions are 500 or better when playing the Buffalo Bills on Thanksgiving.
Now, I have no idea what week that is and, whether or not it's an odd number week and they can't be 500 because they'll have an odd number of games played. But you know my point.
The Lions can always be 500, David, because they can tie games.
Well, that is true.
Don't ever discount what the Lions can or cannot accomplish over the course of a season.
Mentioned it earlier. August is National List Month, at least in the sports world. I mean, it just is. It's oh man, we got just a few more weeks till football season. How about if we just put out a bunch of lists and we just that'll be our content till they start playing games. And Nebraska Northwestern, little afternoon on Saturday. But Big Game Boomer is probably the number one list site out there right now. And they yesterday released, Mark, top 25 most bitter college football rivalries. Top 25. The most bitter college football rivalry in the country, according to Big Game Boomer, is Clemson, South Carolina. Now, I got to admit, it's definitely top 10. They hate each other. Make no bones about it. They hate each other. and it doesn't matter how much success Clemson has had under Dabo, South Carolina fans look at Clemson as little brother, which is rich because Clemson won a national championship in the 80s, and they won 2 last decade and played for 2 others. And yet South Carolina, which has 1 ACC championship and no SEC championships, looks down on Clemson. And if you know a Gamecock fan right now, they will defend that to their death right now.
I wish I could remember the name of the rag, but there's a free paper at South Carolina games that goes around every week. It's just a little free 2-page rag. And on the front page, and this has been happening for as long as I can remember, my first South Carolina game was Lou Holtz's first coach game when they were 0-11 playing Georgia, and you'd have thought South Carolina had just come off an 11-0 season, the way the fan base had acted. They are rabid, to say the very least. And it always has the Clemson joke of the week in the little rag. They live to make fun of Clemson.
Right.
Live to make fun of Clemson.
It's why Steve Spurrier is held in almost as much regard in Columbia, South Carolina as he is in Gainesville, Florida, because not only was he putting 10 and 11 win seasons up on the board, until Dabo got the train a-rolling, Steve owned that place. But, Mark, I thought you'd find this interesting. First off, Florida State Miami's listed as number 5.
Okay.
I say no for this reason. The key word to me on this list is bitter.
Bitter.
Intense, but keen Florida State fan, bitter. I mean, I think the Florida State fan hates the Gators. I don't think they hate the Canes.
And correct us if you think it's wrong, but we've always felt that there was more of a respect factor between the Canes and the Noles.
Really?
Whereas between the Noles and the Gators, it's pure hatred.
Right. Which, by the way, Florida State's listed as number 12 on the list. And Florida fan could tell us, because Georgia's listed as 15. So which one do you hate more, Gator fan? Noles or Dogs? If you could only win one each year, which one would you rather have? That, to me, answers which one's more bitter.
I don't know. I mean, UMFSU is pretty bitter. I mean, I grew up watching just straight up brawls in the Orange Bowl. I mean, that happens everywhere, though.
That happens every week there. It doesn't matter.
You think it's more respectful
than Florida State? Yes.
Yeah, I don't think the Florida State-Miami rivalry is as bitter.
Well, that's true, because if there's one thing that a Florida State fan and a fan can agree on, it's that they hate Florida.
Yes.
Bingo.
Yeah. That's exactly why we're saying what we're saying.
So we think they've got that. By the way, this, find interesting because most people are immediately going, where's the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry rank? First off, Mark, according to Big Game Boomer, it's only the second most bitter rival for Michigan, because Michigan State is listed as the second most bitter rivalry in the country. Now, that's absurd.
That is a joke. As a proud Spartan alum, that's an absolute joke. Michigan now starts taking us seriously because Michigan State's had a pretty good run in beating Michigan in the last decade. And I think they're pretty much 500 with them in the last however many years. But they don't start crossing out letters on another's campus because someone's playing a game. They don't have pep rallies in which they start a countdown to a game that's 300 days away.
So the Iron Bowl's listed as 8. Ohio State, Michigan's listed as 10. Oklahoma, Texas is listed at 4. I will say I was thrilled to see a few rivalries get their due. BYU Utah's 3. They call it the Holy War. Think about it for a second. If you dub a game the Holy War, and in this day and age, you don't back down from that when people go, that's not exactly the nice thing to say. And you go, yeah, shove it up yours. It's BYU and Utah. Okay? So I'm glad they put it third. Mark, we've always talked about Oregon State.
Right.
The Civil War. It's 11th.
Good. It should be.
Right.
It does show the rest, particularly the Southeast, that there are some rivalries around the rest of the country that actually matter to some folks.
Backyard Brawl 7th. Egg Bowl 6th. Apple Cup is 16th. Paul Bunyan's Axe is 19th.
Oh, thank goodness the Axe made it on there, or this poll would have never been talked about on the air.
And Kentucky Louisville's 9th. Hell, and that's in football. Imagine what it is in hoop.
Miller and Moulton, where does your rivalry stack up as the Backyard Brawl is a week from Thursday? Miller and Moulton, we thank you so much for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
If you own 6 Southwest Florida Napa stores and were a big NASCAR fan, wouldn't you put the two together?
How about bringing Chase Elliott to Fort Myers?
Friday, August 26th, Chase Elliott will sign autographs at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive in Fort Myers beginning at 11 a.m.
The best way to get in line, stop by one of the 6 family-owned Napa Auto Parts stores. Stop by the Napa Auto Parts stores in Fort Myers, 1820 Boy Scout Drive, or 4175 Palm Beach Boulevard. You can go to Cape Coral at 1220 Vizcaya Boulevard, 532 Pine Island Road in North Fort Myers, 17284 San Carlos Boulevard in Fort Myers Beach, or in Punta Gorda at 1810 Tamiami Trail.
Sign up for your chance to meet and get an autograph with Chase Elliott.
Coming Friday, August 26th at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive starting at 11 a.m. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, Jimmy Bird, you'll be glad to know Bowling Green Toledo is 23rd. It makes the top 25. Mark, not that this will come up in conversation at home, but if it ever does, Colorado State, Wyoming is 24th.
Wow. And Notre Dame doesn't even make the list.
There is not a Notre Dame rivalry that makes the top 25. Harvard, Yale, I don't believe is considered because it's not Division 1A. Now, there's a few on here that I just don't agree with. Like, they have LSU A&M on this. They've played for 10 years. Now, don't get me wrong. They don't like each other. But, I mean, come on.
When you Katrina, a new breed of rivalry, though, David, you have to admit, with, they should play that game in Houston every year.
Iowa State, 17. Arizona State's 18. This one I don't get. Kansas State in football? No, basketball. Army, Navy. Now, KW, the key word again is bitter. Do you think Army, Navy, intense, but bitter? Chief Osceola can suck a big fat gator tail. I'm guessing Adam thinks the Florida State rivalry is a little better, a little bigger, a little more intense. Virginia Tech is 22. SMU TCU is 21. North Carolina State, Mark, is 13th.
Yeah, I don't see that.
So
Wow. Way off of sports. I'm just looking for a final story here, but Nicholas Cruz's defense that his brain was poisoned by birth mother's addictions. That's an interesting line of defense.
yeah. Exactly, Hops. That's why August is National Lists Month. Pop and Jake, the problem is they don't play. I mean, I think to make the list, you got to play regularly.
So my buddy caddied for Aaron Rodgers 2 days ago. He took the day off. He and Andy North must have went and played golf, and he looped the group.
Nice.
Said Aaron was strange. In the group test, he's very quiet and very strange. And said North was about the nicest guy he's ever met.
15 seconds.
I would say Penn State, Michael. But that's probably their best chance to get a win.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Rays continue their good play in the last week and a half. Beat the Angels last night 2-1. They technically are the 4 seed right now. Both Toronto and Seattle were idle last night. That means they didn't play. So Tampa's a half a game ahead of both. Those are the 3 wild card teams in the American League. A little bit of separation, Mark. Orioles are 2.5 back. Meanwhile, in the National League, San Diego and Philly are the last 2 wild cards, and they're tied. They're both a game and a half ahead of the Brewers. So
the Rays have caught fire a little bit here recently and pulled away a little bit. So they've been playing really well, as have the Jays. So that's partly the reason in the American League. We were talking about rivalries last segment and reading a list off, as David has identified August as National List Month in the sports talk show world, because there are no games to talk about. So we have to come up with lists. But when asking the Gator fan who and the Knoll fan who their rival is. We did get some spirited text messages. First off, Gators fan says it's the Knolls, no question, over between that and Georgia. Miami fan says the Miami fan, we love to beat FSU. What other team's our rival?
Well, but the key word here is bitter. The list was the most bitter rivalries in college football.
No, but the Miami fan just jumped in and said it is FSU for us because we don't have another one. That's all they're saying. But the Gator fan clearly is agreeing with what we talked about. This one, I'm a 66-year-old diehard Seminole fan. It's not even close. Definitely hate the Gators more. And that seemed to be what many of you echoed. And the Gator fan also saying that they hate the Knolls more than they hate the Dogs.
And the list had Florida State Miami as the 5th most bitter rivalry, and we didn't think so. We think the most bitter rivalry in college football in the state is Florida State. We think that's where the most hatred is.
I will never forget. Now, years escape me as I get old, but believe it was my sophomore year at Michigan State. Sophomore, junior year, we played Florida State. And Dion was Dion. Ran a punt back, had an interception, had a monster game. And our seats were right next to 2 Florida State fans. I was just on the edge of the student section. And we were behind the Florida State bench. And they were hooting and hollering and never stopped. And I'm just like, the second half's going on and they're starting to pound Sparty and they're getting louder and louder. And we're getting annoyed. But not anything you can do about it because you're getting pounded. And right. I remember the two of them just looked at me and said, come see a Florida State game because if they'll just spit on you if you talked like this. And I went, what? Do what? You're annoying me. I wasn't planning on spitting on you. That was my first indoctrination to what Florida State was. When these Florida State fans just kind of said, yeah, this is nothing. Don't you worry about us making a little bit of noise.
I will say there were some off the beaten path rivalries that made this top 25 list. Colorado State, Wyoming, Bowling Green, Toledo. Now, some people noted, hey, Army, Navy, they on the list? No. Now we could, once again, bitter. I mean, I would argue it's the number 1 rivalry in college football. I would not argue it's one of the top 25 most bitter. They sing each other's song at the end of the game. They stand arm in arm because they are brothers in arms.
I would have the Iron Bowl ranked higher than where it is.
It's 8th for whatever this list is worth. Michigan, Ohio State's 10th, which, needless to say, I think most of us go, that should probably be higher.
But I think the Iron Bowl is more bitter than Michigan, Ohio State.
Really?
More bitter. Yes.
Huh.
It's inside the same state.
True.
And
True.
The hatred that they have for one another, to me, is larger than the hatred Michigan and Ohio State means, because there's still a tiny bit of respect between Michigan and Ohio State, more so than I see in the Iron Bowl. That's just my opinion. I could be dead wrong, but I grew up with the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry.
Right. From afar, which is my view of the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry, that little bit of respect that you were referencing disappeared with Urban when he stopped referring to Michigan by name. Honestly, that, and the guy that replaced him has continued it. When you're not even willing to call the other school by their name. Okay, now we can get into how juvenile and disrespectful that is. Okay, but their fan base is eating it up. I don't ever remember not referring to Michigan by name until Urban. I mean, now I could be wrong, and Ohio State fans could point it out. Okay, but I mean,
Tressel set that school up north when he did the presser, or when he did the pep rally.
Yes, but he didn't then the rest of his career not refer to them as Michigan. I think he was just letting. I thought that was the beauty of that speech at halftime of the basketball game that he was letting his fan base know, I get it. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't ever remember them not referring to Michigan by name until really Urban. I mean, Urban went so far as if you were a member of the media and you covered an Ohio State practice, and you had blue on, he would make you change your clothing. Now, I would have been arrested if that ever happened to me. I'd tell him to blank off. You got to be kidding me. I don't work for you. All right. And you can't remove me from the premises because you don't like the color of my slacks. Okay. But Urban did that. They would bring out Ohio State clothing and say, here, put this on over your shirt. Now that
I don't know if that's bitter. It's petty is what it is.
It's absurd.
Right.
I don't even know if it rises to the level of juvenile.
But it gets us fired up because the Backyard Brawl is a week from Thursday, and it's a game that needs to be played every year.
Yes.
And these games need to be played every year. And that's part of the reason we go, how can you have one of these? Some people were asking about Notre Dame and Miami. Well, you have to play every year for it to be a bitter rival.
Now, Army-Navy, I think, makes the top 5 in terms of obsessed. I mean, that is a 24/7, 365, beat Navy. They end meals that way all year. I don't know if that qualifies as bitter. And Adam's saying, David, you would have been kicked. Yes, I would have been. Listen, I was physically removed for a Philadelphia Eagles practice.
David, he didn't say kicked out. He said he would have kicked you. There's a difference. Urban likes to kick people. He was making a Lambo there, the Jacksonville kicker there that Urban may or may not have kicked.
Gotcha.
He would have kicked you. See,
I would have kicked him back. Yeah.
I wonder if he'll kick anybody on the pregame set of the Fox pregame this year.
By the way, could they have
starts giving it to him? Do they kick him?
Could they have buried that announcement anymore? That was like 4:30 on a Friday in a press release. Talk about sending it out with the trash. My goodness.
Can't wait to get his insights on how to build a locker room this year.
I know. All those. Please tell me he's got to make a little fun of himself, doesn't he? Doesn't he have to acknowledge where I failed in Jacksonville?
I'm watching to find out, because if he doesn't, David, I don't know how he can even do the show if he doesn't make a little fun of himself. I don't know how you can take anything he says seriously.
Right. And say, listen, this is where I failed in the pros, but I succeeded in college. That's okay.
That's a fair statement. We'll see. I am as excited to watch that pregame show as I am ready to watch West Virginia and Pitt. Miller and Moulton, we thank you for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I'll tell you what, Jimmy, maybe not, but I'll be interested in how many people are going to throw out then, because every place he's at, not named Ohio State, fans will heckle him. Fans will literally heckle him every stop they make. He's not liked. Oh, Jimmy, you think so? No way. The Gators hate Urban. The Gator fan base. We've never been able to understand it. I don't get that same vibe from the Buckeye fans that I know.
No. He handed off the program in great shape to Ryan Day. And that's what I've been told is why Gator fans hate him. Because he left the program, on the way down. Oh, okay. And then they were angry that he returned a year later at Ohio State, overlooking the fact that no one at the time that Urban walked away from Florida thought the Ohio State job would open up in a year. Bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Always wondered how Gator fan would have felt of Urban if he had walked away when he did the first time for a day. Done his 5 years, whooped Cincinnati in the Sugar Bowl, and walked away.
David, did you see the hot dog straw that the guy pulled off at the Yankees game?
I did.
That is not good.
Drinking a beer through a hot dog.
Dog and a beer.
Come back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Having fun with rivalries today. Talking about those that are the most bitter. Asking Gator and Knowles fan to, well, let us know. So which one, Florida State fan, do you hate more, Gators or Canes? We've gotten a resounding Gators. But asking the Gator fan, which one you hate more, Florida State or Georgia? The majority say Florida State, but I think Georgia's recent success, Mark, hasn't sat very well either.
Well, and Florida's mediocrity hasn't helped them at all. Easy when you're looking up at someone to hate them a lot more. There's no doubt there.
Speaking of mediocrity, our poll question today, which college football program of the 80s and 90s most likely to return to prominence? Your choices are Nebraska, Tennessee, Georgia Tech, and Colorado. Can we define prominence for a second? How about this? Does prominence at least have to mean playing for your conference championship game?
Yes.
At the very least, right?
At the very least.
Okay. So which one of Nebraska, Tennessee, Georgia Tech, and Colorado is most likely to return to prominence? In a very distorted way, I could say Colorado because I'm expecting the Pac-12 to take a hit here. And Colorado could go, we can win this league.
You know, when you look at a team like Colorado and the fact that they had prominence, and I agree with you, by the way, with the Pac-12 being disintegrating perhaps before our eyes, that there's an opportunity there. But we talk about Nebraska and how tough it is for Nebraska to recruit and get players there with all the tradition and one of the best fan bases in all of college sports. How do you think Colorado is out? I mean, without the best NIL in the country, how the hell are they ever going to get players? No players there.
Well, the pipeline to California and elsewhere has been largely disrupted, put it that way. A few coaches have gotten it back for an hour and a half. That's about it over the last 20 years.
And the California pipeline isn't what it still produces great football players, but not at the rate that they were. Football numbers in California are down. So they had the pipeline to California and to Texas. I mean, that was the other thing. When they were a Big 12 member, they were able to sneak a player or two out of Texas. So I don't look at Colorado as someone that can get it going because I see the recruiting battles for them being really difficult to overcome.
2/3 of our respondents so far have said Tennessee, which is interesting.
It's an SEC bias. They just look at the SEC and say, if you can get it done money-wise, everybody, I think that most everybody listening to our show remembers Tennessee being good.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough for a lot of us to remember the other schools that are on the list being good. As you pointed out, Georgia Tech on the list, someone may be looking at that going, what?
Yeah.
Prominence? Georgia Tech? Who?
The one that I'm kind of what about is Colorado.
Colorado and Georgia Tech shared a national title in the 90s.
Well, and the other thing is Colorado nearly played the Canes for the national championship in 2001. I mean, the irony of ironies that Miami ended up playing Nebraska because Colorado had just beaten Nebraska the day after Thanksgiving by like 6 touchdowns. But the computer spit them out as number 3 or 4.
Computers love themselves some Nebraska and Oklahoma, David.
They sure did. They sure did. So Tennessee, by the way, has not appeared in the SEC championship game since 2007. Nick's very first year at Alabama. It's the last time Tennessee played in the SEC championship game. Now, they should have 5-6 years ago. They had the best team in the East. Kirby had just taken over Georgia. His recruiting hadn't taken hold yet. And Florida, I think under McElwain, even though Tennessee beat them that year and beat Georgia that year, but screwed it up down the stretch, and Florida ended up in Atlanta. But I mean, I know many of you are voting Tennessee. When do you think Tennessee is going to play for the SEC championship again?
Hey, David, you could just ask the generic question. When does somebody not named Georgia represent the East next?
Well, don't you think, though, there's a better chance that the team not named Georgia is named Florida?
Yes, I do, particularly with the way Napier's getting it done recruiting-wise right now. But we'll have to see a little more. So, yeah, I think you're right. Tennessee does seem to have a little bit of traction, but they're not recruiting at the level that Florida is. And there was a time that Tennessee was a tremendous recruiting juggernaut, had the largest recruiting budget in the country. We're flying all over the country to find players. That's not the case right now.
Very quickly, by the way, Tennessee hosts Ball State, at Pitt, hosts Akron, and then hosts the Gators. Don't the Vols have to be 3-0 hosting the Gators?
100%. And
I know
that's not a guaranteed win going on the road, but that's a young Pitt team, new quarterback, the receiver transferred to USC. So that's a game. If you're on your way back against a team that lost their all-everything quarterback, that's a game you should win.
And then after the Gator game, you got to bye, and then you go to Baton Rouge. Well, listen, if you're going to get Brian Kelly in LSU, this year to get him. And then they host Alabama. So they get Florida and Bama at home. They get Kentucky at home, who's picked to finish ahead of them in the East. They go to Georgia the week after the cocktail party, by the way. That's even good scheduling for Tennessee.
Yeah, I think Kentucky's largely picked ahead of them because of their crossover games, because they get the 2 Mississippi schools.
Yeah, that
and
makes
Tennessee
life a
gets
little
LSU
easier.
and Alabama.
Right.
Although LSU's picked to finish anywhere, from 4th to last on that side.
So, and also if you're Tennessee, Florida's down now, but the fear is they're a year away from getting their act together. And we couldn't take advantage of it. 9 games they're going to play in the SEC too in a couple of years. I mean, if you're a fan, you're going to get better games. You're going to get better schedules. You're going to get more good games on television.
Does anybody play 8 now? The ACC still playing 8, right?
ACC and SEC are the 2 playing 8.
But the ACC hasn't made any announcements. Now, there was a lot of talk that the divisions could go away, probably will lead to 9 games. But the SEC saying when Texas and Oklahoma come to the conference, they're going to play 9. I think it's significant because to me, that'll get the ACC to 9 games as well.
Now, the SEC hasn't said it publicly, but apparently that was the talk of the meetings last week that it's going to happen, but not until OU and Texas join the conference. I expect, by the way, that will happen a year early. That instead of them staying in the Big 12 all the way until 25, that I think once the games are on ESPN and no longer CBS, and then also if you're the Big 12, I mean, don't you let them leave a year early and at least get a little cash as opposed to them leaving a year from now and you get bupkis? So I think that Oklahoma and Texas, Mark, will join the SEC at the exact same time that USC and UCLA join the Big Ten.
Makes sense for everybody involved. I don't know if anybody even loses on that. I mean, I guess the Big 12 to a small degree. I mean, they've already lost with losing the teams, but that's the same year that Cincinnati and BYU and UCF are all coming as well. So it makes sense, David.
Oh, by the way, Canes fan, while we play this whole, rotisserie board as to where teams are going, with Oregon apparently actively negotiating with the Pac-12 or actively begging the Pac-12, or excuse me, the Big Ten, my bad, with Oregon begging the Big Ten to join the conference. And we had Adam Rittenberg on last week, and he's as tied into the Big Ten as anybody. And he's like, yeah, I think they're going to go get two more out west so that USC and UCLA have just a little bit of cover, a couple of, friendlies around. So if it's Oregon and Washington, who are the next two? If I'm a Miami fan, my fear is it's Virginia and North Carolina, and you're the odd team out, which means you're stuck in the ACC unless do we think the SEC is going to expand and go to 20 as well? And then if so, what four are they bringing in?
Look at that rights part of the ACC still astonishes me how teams will get out of this, because it's a huge amount of money, not just up front, but throughout the deal. So it makes it it makes it very difficult for an ACC school to leave unless bunches of them are. And that's what we talked about.
Right. Isn't the magic number 8 that essentially over half the conference has to leave? And if that happens, then the whole, rights thing goes away. So if 2 go to the Big Ten, and let's just say the SEC is going to take all 4 from the ACC, if they expand to 20, that still means 2 more got to go, in theory, to the Big 12.
And North Carolina and Virginia seem to be the prizes that the Big Ten has its eyes on. They fit the whatever academic qualifying that all of the schools in the Big Ten have.
And also, what do they do for the whole map? We don't have anybody in Virginia. We don't have anybody in North Carolina. And those are the 2 biggest states in quote-unquote Big Ten territory that they argue that they could get a team in because they don't see themselves getting into Florida or Texas.
And it's the 2 big states that don't have any SEC or Big Ten schools in them.
For now.
That's the key phrase, for now.
But if you're a Miami fan, though, aren't you now concerned that you're literally number 21 in a conference that the word is they're going to go to 20?
I think they would be one of the 4 if the SEC goes to 20. But there are no indicators that the SEC wants to go to 20. I think it would be Florida State, Miami, Clemson, and probably Georgia Tech.
I think the AM would be NC State. I think they'd want to get into the state of North Carolina.
You might be right.
So you think they would take both ACC Florida schools?
I do.
Oh, the Gator fan would lose their mind. We said it a couple of years ago, though. No offense, Florida. When you didn't block Texas joining the SEC, you couldn't then ask for others to block the Florida schools when they wanted to come join. We said it at the time. We didn't understand why the whole Florida, Georgia, South Carolina block wasn't behind Texas A&M blocking Texas, because we said it at the time. Well, there's going to come a day where they're going to want to add schools that are your rival, and you ain't going to be able to say jack.
And that appears to be right where they are at right now, if indeed the SEC wants to go from 16 to 20. And the Big Ten, Adam Rittenberg, as we talked about, mentioned that the Big Ten, in fact, it's in the contract that if they increase teams, they get more money.
Question asked, why wouldn't Florida want the Noles and the Canes to join the SEC? The question becomes, if you're the four-letter network who owns everything SEC, how much more are you willing to pay? Why do I want to pay more? I got them in my other conference here. I want to keep that conference viable. Hell, I started an ACC network, for goodness sakes.
Miller and Moulton, Tampa, St. Pete, Lake City, Port Charlotte. We thank you so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow. 239, the bonus hour, is on the other side of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled, marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
If you own 6 Southwest Florida Napa stores and were a big NASCAR fan, wouldn't you put the two together?
How about bringing Chase Elliott to Fort Myers?
Friday, August 26th, Chase Elliott will sign autographs at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive in Fort Myers beginning at 11 a.m.
The best way to get in line, stop by one of the 6 family-owned Napa Auto Parts stores. Stop by the Napa Auto Parts stores in Fort Myers, 1820 Boy Scout Drive, or 4175 Palm Beach Boulevard. You can go to Cape Coral at 1220 Vizcaya Boulevard, 532 Pine Island Road in North Fort Myers, 17284 San Carlos Boulevard in Fort Myers Beach, or in Punta Gorda at 1810 Tamiami Trail.
Sign up for your chance to meet and get an autograph with Chase Elliott.
Coming Friday, August 26th at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive starting at 11 a.m.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
David, the 2020 Indy 500 was today.
I'm sorry, what?
2020 Indy 500.
Pandemic.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. In our little hypothetical world, Virginia, Carolina go to the Big Ten. SEC takes Florida State, Miami, Clemson, and NC State. Who are the two that go? If you're the Big 12, who are the two that you want?
Louisville.
Okay.
Vatech.
No, I'm just wondering.
Virginia. No. I'm just kind of
right. I like it.
spitballing.
I'm fine with that. Do you take Pitt?
Ooh, yeah.
I mean, you may take more than two, but I'm just saying.
What happens to Duke?
Welcome to the Big East.
Well, time you leave today?
Tonight.
Ugh.
So I get in like 10:30.
Okay. Well, at least you can spend another day with Mom.
Yeah.
I just hate getting back late.
I can't believe the Phillies would let the Mets, the president of the Mets fan club, throw out the first pitch. Are you serious? That's absurd. Somebody should be fired. I don't care how many tickets they bought. Gotta be kidding me.
It is, Dad. It is, Dad. I agree with you. That's like having the Lakers having a shamrock on their court. Well said.
That's going to look so weird. We're coming back.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. Thanks so much for being with us. 3 days away from Chase Elliott's appearance at the Napa on Boy Scout Drive in Fort Myers. We'll be there doing our show live 6 to 10. Chase arrives at 11. He's there till 1. He'll sign autographs for at least an hour. You're welcome to, get in line. No guarantees you get one. But you are invited down. There'll be food, and, well, we'll just take it from there. Get photo, anyway, from a distance, right? There he is. Hey,
there you go.
Chase Elliott was here. So that's Friday at the Napa.
Doesn't have anything to do. He can stick around later.
Right. I mean, there's only qualifying at Daytona. No big deal. But then again, he has, clinched the 1 seed heading into the playoffs. I mean, it's the funny thing is for 20 drivers, it's win or bust. They need to win to get in the playoffs or, they're out. For Chase Elliott, really, it's win or bust too. I mean, add another pelt on the wall, add to my win total. Otherwise, this don't mean anything.
Great season for NASCAR this year, no doubt, though. All the different winners, still a shot for one more winner to get into the playoff. I mean, and even the golf playoff has been good so far. We'll see what the Tour Championship's like. As much as we've talked about Live Golf and all of the storylines that's given us, and the fact that on Monday there's going to be 7 or so players jumping from the PGA Tour to the Live Golf Tour. The PGA Tour has given us a pretty good darn playoff.
Yeah, they have. And most of the big names apparently are playing pretty well here at the end of the year. They're trying to peak. I mean, they are playing for like $18 million this week. I mean, it is a ridiculous cash grab. I mean, that last place finisher this week gets 300,000.
But, think of it here. You got the three individuals. I'll tie the third in a second. You got NASCAR's having one of their best seasons they've ever had. PGA Tour, despite all the controversy, having a really good finish. U.S. Open tennis is going to start in a couple of weeks, and there is zero momentum. You have Serena's swan song. She loses in a first-round match last week. You've got Rafi, who's hurt. You got Federer, who's hurt. And Joker, well, he's not
in the field. He's right. He's not in the field as of right now. And there's no indication that anybody's changing any rules so that he can be in. I mean, they haven't even released the draw for the tournament. And I think the tournament starts Monday. I don't even think they've released a draw yet. They desperately need Serena to win a few matches.
And David, right now, seriously, how can you bet on her winning more than a match?
If that.
Right.
I mean, she turns 41 in a month and she looks it. I mean, it's the first time she's looked human really in her career. She looks her age. Venus hasn't won many matches in the last couple of years. She's in her 40s. Really tough to compete against the 18 to 24-year-olds.
So just kind of thinking about that, the U.S. Open, usually a pretty big time. People get pretty fired up for it. I don't know if it's ever been as anticlimactic, even with Serena's last one, because right now the fear is, you would love to sit there and go, oh, she's got a great shot to win. Hell, I'd like to see her win a match.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I think most of us think it would be an accomplishment if she could get to week 2. That would be getting to the 4th round. Well, think about it. No Federer. He's played his last U.S. Open. And this, in all likelihood, is the last U.S. Open for the Williams sisters. With Rafa's age and injury history, you don't know how many more of those he's going to play. And for that matter, I mean, Djokovic's not going to be vaccinated next year. I mean, who knows if these rules still apply? I mean, honestly, and he's in his mid-30s.
Right. And Joker here had an opportunity to take over the grasp of being the all-time major winner. And it's not happening because he can't play in tournaments.
He's only going to play in 2 of the 4 slams this year. Won one, lost to Rafa, who won that one. So this year's going to end with Rafa at 22 and Joker at 21 and Federer at 20.
So Joker ain't going back to Australia. You can write that down.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, you think they'll figure out a way to change their rules?
I do.
For his sake, I hope you're right.
And then in theory, he could play 3 in a row. But you're right. No buzz to the Open at all. A lot of buzz for college and pro football, though. 4 days away from week 0 kicking off. 9 days away from week 1. 16 days away from Bills and Rams kicking off the NFL season.
What is the storyline? We were asked a question on an individual storyline that you're most interested in this year, whether it's college or pro. And I thought the person who asked the question, they gave their own answer of Tua. And that's up there with me. Because the Miami Dolphins, as every day goes on, seem to be getting a little bit more hype. And it's all going to go as far as Tua takes them. Is there an individual storyline that you're most intrigued about this season, David?
All right. When you say individual, do you literally mean a player? Because I am like the ultimate team guy. It's why I'm not into fantasy football, because I don't really care what a player's stats are.
But it doesn't matter what his stats are. I mean Tua, because the Dolphins are going to go as, that one guy is going to make or break the Miami Dolphins. If he plays badly, then the Dolphins are going to start over at quarterback. So I'm not talking about fantasy stats. I don't care about fantasy stats. I'm talking about the guy, Lamar Jackson this year. I'm fascinated with what happens there. He's playing for a contract. They're not going to get this done. There are a lot of individual storylines that have a team emphasis of how it's going to play out. So, no, I don't really care about guys' individual stat lines, David. But those two, to me, how their teams do means so much to what's going to happen with both of those players going forward.
Because of where we're located, I think I'm going to be most into the Tua storyline with the Dolphins, and a very demanding schedule. They have to get good quarterback play. They have to. You're not going to be able to, in my opinion, produce the winning seasons that they've produced the last 2 years, albeit not making the playoffs, with the quarterback play that they've had the last 2 years, which has been no better than above average. The AFC's loaded. Their schedule is hard. They're going to need good to very good quarterback play to achieve what it is they want to achieve. Mark, I don't know if you can make the playoffs in the AFC without, at the very least, good quarterback play, and maybe even a half notch better than that. Which is why I wonder, does Matt Ryan still have enough in the tank for your Colts? Is Tannehill going to recover from that playoff performance, or is that the beginning of the end of his career?
And I know Joe Burrow can do no wrong in a lot of people's estimation. I want to see what Joe Burrow does in year 2. He was sacked 6,000 times last year. Some of that was on him holding the ball too long. I want to see Joe Burrow make the next step and improve. The Bengals take a step backward and don't make the playoffs this year. What are we thinking? So I think there are countless stories, and a lot of them are going to involve quarterbacks, obviously, but I think there are a lot of individual storylines out there that will help determine teams' fate that have me fascinated with this National Football League season.
This is not, I don't believe, as sexy a storyline as it should be, but I am fascinated by the Chiefs because I think there's a real chance that they slip this year. And slip to the point where they don't win the division. And once you're not winning the division, making the playoffs is at stake, especially in that conference.
Especially in that division, where we're having a hell of a time to figure out who the worst team is and who the best team is.
Because that's don't
where your
believe
combinations get you screwed up. That's where the wrong 10-7 or the wrong 11-6 could be the wrong 11-6.
For as majestic as Mahomes is, their defense is below average. I think it's worse than it was last year, and it was not good enough at the end of the year last year. I think they're really going to miss Tyrann Mathieu. And I don't think at the end of the day, Andy Reid's going to run the ball, which he really needs to do this year. He needs to keep the dogs off Mahomes, and he needs to keep that defense off the field. But at the end of the day, Andy Reid chucks the rock all over the lot. And I think there's a real chance. The Chiefs have won the division, 6 years in a row? Let me tell you, if Andy Reid and the Chiefs can win the West this year, with as loaded up as the West has gotten this year, and how tough that conference and their schedule is, I could argue it'd be the best regular season coaching job of Andy Reid's career if the Chiefs can win that division this year. And Mark, I just have to think, I don't think the NFC and the NFC North is strong enough to take advantage of the Packers not being as good as they were the last couple of years. But I think the AFC and the AFC West is strong enough that if the Chiefs slip a notch, which I think they will, Mark, there was not much of a difference last year between being the 2 seed and being the 8 seed, if you know what I mean.
There is no doubt. And to your point on the Packers, and just you look at that division, obviously you have Detroit and Chicago at the bottom of that division. No one thinks that they have the wherewithal to make a run to win the division, where right now we have 4 teams in the AFC West that you're going to see all picked to win the division. You might not see Denver a whole lot, but every team will nearly be picked, at least 3 of the 4. That is for certain. Miller and Moulton taking a look at the National Football League and a couple of quarterback play and how teams will work out for this season. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was the day when, what's on tap, all still ahead. If you missed any of the show, go to floridasportsnetwork.com to download any part that you missed. We'll be back with more in a moment on Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
If you own 6 Southwest Florida Napa stores and were a big NASCAR fan, wouldn't you put the two together?
How about bringing Chase Elliott to Fort Myers?
Friday, August 26th, Chase Elliott will sign autographs at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive in Fort Myers beginning at 11 a.m.
The best way to get in line, stop by one of the 6 family-owned Napa Auto Parts stores. Stop by the Napa Auto Parts stores in Fort Myers, 1820 Boy Scout Drive, or 4175 Palm Beach Boulevard. You can go to Cape Coral at 1220 Vizcaya Boulevard, 532 Pine Island Road in North Fort Myers, 17284 San Carlos Boulevard in Fort Myers Beach, or in Punta Gorda at 1810 Tamiami Trail.
Sign up for your chance to meet and get an autograph with Chase Elliott.
Coming Friday, August 26th at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive starting at 11 a.m. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts, flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com, flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Spitz, first off, I don't think the Chiefs are hearing, quote unquote, all this talk. In Kansas City, it's a love fest. And secondly, the Chiefs should be motivated by the fact that they're slipping in the wrong direction. Won the Super Bowl, lost the Super Bowl, lost the AFC Championship game. They're heading in the wrong direction. No, I know, Spitz. I mean, I said how majestic Mahomes is. I don't think the Vikings will win the North, but I do think the Vikings will seriously contend in the North. I think they'll lose by a game. And I don't think Belichick retires before passing Shula for first on the all-time win list.
Is he like super far away from Shula?
I think he's somewhere between 3 and 4 years.
Holy cold.
It's cold.
Oh, really?
It's freezing here.
I came prepared.
Yeah, and you fall asleep.
It's too cozy. That's the thing. Yeah. Cozy is not good this early.
All right, I'm just going to tell you, Canadian Relief, the Lions will have a winning record 7 games into the season. Now you're figuring out where I'm going with this.
The other question, which I'm curious about, talking about Belichick there, do they count playoff wins in the all-time win list or no?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't either. Belichick's 38 wins behind Shula in the regular season. But he picks up 12 wins on them in the playoffs, which would make him 26 behind Shula.
Mark, they might just have a winning record, but yes, like 4 and 3.
Oh, it wouldn't be 5 and 2. Okay.
That's for damn sure.
I don't think they get to 8. I think the Lions at best are a 7 and 10 team.
Yeah, because
they're the Lions.
You know, they play the Bears, the Jets.
They've got a really, really easy schedule.
They
really
do.
Easy schedule.
They have a really easy schedule.
That's what happens when you finished in last. And they play the NFC East. I mean that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if this is far.
And the AFC East.
I don't know if this is far-fetched to say, but they're in a weak NFC.
No, they could get
fight for a wild card.
It's possible, but it's
at best a wild card.
Oh, well, yeah. That means, see, I think Minnesota is going to be a lot better than people think. I think Minnesota's a wild card team.
Minnesota lost a couple close-ass games last year.
Minnesota had a bad coach last year.
Yeah. Isn't their offensive coordinator?
Well, things are supposed to be clicking, so we'll see.
They got someone from the Rams. The Rams.
He's their new head coach.
Yeah.
Where's your new head coach?
Kevin O'Connell.
And he worked with Cousins in Washington. So.
Yeah. That's why I picked Justin Jefferson. No one cares. All right. We're coming back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
All things are possible, Mark, this time of the sports year from a football standpoint. 4 days away from week 0, if your team plays on that day, kicking off the college football season. 9 days away from week 1 getting underway. 16 days away from Bills and Rams. And if you have to wait till Sunday or Monday, the numbers are 19 and 20. So you get the idea. It's close enough now where you start thinking, okay, how good are we going to be? That's right, we. And we're, being a little sentimental also in previewing Nebraska and Northwestern with Gary Sharp in the first hour of the show live from 1620 The Zone in Omaha. So our poll question has to do with, okay, which college football program from a generation or so gone by that, it used to be pretty good. In fact, even won national championships in the 80s and 90s. Which one of these do you think is going to return to, quote, prominence, unquote, first? And we threw a couple teams out there that we knew you wouldn't vote for. But we're just making a point that, believe it or not, these schools 30 years ago, they shared a national championship, Georgia Tech and Colorado. And Colorado nearly played the Canes 21 years ago for the national title. In fact, many argued should have.
I tried to be a blankety blank when we came up with this question and tried to put Florida State and Miami on the question.
Right. And I said, Mark, I know it would get a lot more votes, but I don't think we should really, poke the bear to the extent that you want to poke the bear, because I don't know if we can outrun that bear.
You're right. And you mentioned earlier that August is National List Month. It is also National We Month. We is said more during the month of August about someone's football team than any other month because everyone is undefeated. And therefore,
Right.
we are going to be really good this year.
You know what? August is National Hope Month. So that's our poll question, by the way. The other two were Nebraska and Tennessee.
And Tennessee getting almost 2 out of every 3 votes right now, David.
Which is interesting because they haven't played in the conference title game in 15 years. And they've only really seriously challenged to play in that game like once or twice during that 15-year time frame. And that's when Georgia was not Georgia of today.
And you're also then, if you're picking Tennessee, saying Florida staying where they are and not coming back to the national scene anytime soon. And we think that that's not the case, just given the way that they have been recruiting, that it looks as if little something's going on in Gainesville, starting to get the talent back for the Gators. If you do want to text the show, the number is 21,000 FSN Radio, the keyword. The poll question, you go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, or FL Sports Network on Twitter.
You're going to hear about cuts today in the National Football League. Teams have till 4 o'clock to get their rosters down to 80. So Kenyon Drake might be the biggest name that is let go today. The Raiders let him know yesterday that he's going to be a casualty at the cut line today. 28-year-old running back coming back from a broken ankle. Hasn't looked great in the preseason, but he got hurt late last year, week 13. That's an interesting pickup potentially for a few teams out there. That might not be the worst number 2 running back that you could add to your team. Just saying.
And
Tampa.
As you talked about, I think there's 2 things to look at. One, the cuts, and then begin to start checking the waiver wires in the morning to see who's picked up, who is working on getting players that have been cut and trying to bolster their roster, as you got Tampa right now trying to find offensive linemen. At least we think they should be. They have not gone out and made any moves yet, while the Bills and Arizona yesterday making a trade that sent an offensive lineman to Arizona from Buffalo kind of raised our attention as to why the Bucs weren't involved in that trade.
Cody Ford was a lineman. He was a high draft pick just 3 years ago. And while he was drafted as a tackle and has not panned out there, the Bucs don't need tackles. At least, knock on wood, we think Wirfs is going to play through the injury. And so in theory, the strength of their team are the 2 tackles, at least along the line. And they need interior linemen. Well, Ford's been a guard the last 2 years. He started about a third of the games for the Bills last year. Was only scratched from the lineup once. Apparently he had a good preseason game in this last one over the weekend, for whatever that's worth. But those that grade out players' performances graded his out very highly. So Arizona gave up a 5th-round pick for him. He's got to have a pulse, right? Giving up a 5th-round pick. Don't the Bucs right now need linemen who have a pulse? Just a thought.
They're a lot more content with their depth than we are at this point, but we shall see if any moves are made in Tampa regarding their offensive line here. Again, cuts 85 to 80 today, so players will be available.
Now, something to remember is that, Arizona is ahead of the Bucs in terms of right now the thought as to where they'll be drafting next year. Most people think Tampa Bay is going to go further than Arizona. So a 5th-round pick from Arizona looms as a better pick than a 5th-round pick from Tampa next year. So who knows? Maybe Tampa was really all in on Cody Ford, but, the Bills decide to do the deal with Arizona because they think that pick will be a few spots better. And the Bucks do not have a 4th-round pick in next year's draft. They've already traded it away. I would aim higher if I was the Bucks. I would aim for linemen who are worthy of 2nd and 3rd-round picks, to be honest. Because I might need these guys for more than just 2022. So, I'm just saying.
And Brady back with the Bucks yesterday. All reports were it was his best practice so far.
If not for his last practice, in which apparently he just tore the Dolphins up. Right. So, you got that going for you.
So it looks like the 10 days off didn't really affect anyone.
Well, what was it Dennis Allen said in New Orleans? Winston kind of got banged up, turned an ankle or something like that. And he basically said, yeah, I'm fine if he doesn't play in the preseason.
And that's a first-year head coach.
At least with them, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. And he's like, preseason, whatever.
Miller and Moulton. Remember, you can text the show 21,000. We've been getting texts today on the rivalries throughout the day. And I did, we talked about Colorado today, but we did get this text. You never know who's listening, but a Colorado alum here. He says, the hierarchy at Colorado hates the mere thought of football. They will never get back to prominence. It's always nice when your alumni are telling you that the administration has no desire to ever have a good football team again.
Well, there are people that believe that at UCLA also. That UCLA is really not all in. That Chip's a kind of sort of, we want to give the appearance that we're all in.
Well, and what, 2 of their border regions at UCLA are trying to nix this Big Ten deal? I mean, everything that you've heard, USC is a private school, so they can't do anything there, but California up in arms over UCLA wanting to leave to join the Big Ten because, well, they're broke.
And the governor apparently is not crazy about UCLA leaving either. And so he's gotten involved. But, I mean, does anybody think this deal's not going through?
Oh, it's going through. It's going through. I've just been amazed that the outside resistance didn't surprise me. When 2 border regions from UCLA had a problem with it, that surprised me more than the governor.
Well, Mark, you know what they're really bothered about? They weren't consulted. I mean, come on. Let's get to it. This is all about power and ego and control here. And they read it on the internet at the same time you and I did.
It is a dadgum good point. You'd at least have liked to have gotten an email saying there's an announcement today as opposed to reading about it on the internet that your school's left the Pac-12 for the Big Ten.
Yeah. Just want to let you know before you guys see this on the internet, but we're probably going to the Big Ten. If you can, don't talk to the press.
Miller and Moulton, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was the day when what's on tap, all still ahead.
If you own 6 Southwest Florida Napa stores and were a big NASCAR fan, wouldn't you put the 2 together?
How about bringing Chase Elliott to Fort Myers?
Friday, August 26th, Chase Elliott will sign autographs at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive in Fort Myers beginning at 11 a.m.
The best way to get in line, stop by one of the 6 family-owned Napa Auto Parts stores. Stop by the Napa Auto Parts stores in Fort Myers, 1820 Boy Scout Drive, or 4175 Palm Beach Boulevard. You can go to Cape Coral at 1220 Vizcaya Boulevard, 532 Pine Island Road in North Fort Myers, 17284 San Carlos Boulevard in Fort Myers Beach, or in Punta Gorda at 1810 Tamiami Trail.
Sign up for your chance to meet and get an autograph with Chase Elliott.
Coming Friday, August 26th at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive starting at 11 a.m.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, Nobody better for value and service. E-Motorcycles. Check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Felipe, how long are you usually here after the show?
Like 30 minutes.
All right. Stick around a little bit. I'm going to, you know how to get into StreamYard, right? I mean, you
Yeah,
just basically have to go on to StreamYard.
You showed me.
So I'll call you when I get to Napa.
Mhm.
Just want to make sure we can hook this up.
Gotcha.
I'll be there. I'm just going to go. I got to go home, grab a computer. So I'll be there by 10:30.
It's fine.
No, I'll get them tomorrow. No big deal. Because they're in Bonita. Oh, you don't have your headsets on. So I'm just talking to no one.
Yeah, now I don't think he will because I think it would really damage him politically.
You are right, Wancho. Happy birthday to your sister.
Plans tonight? You being taken out or something? Wined and dined?
Drum practice and then soccer practice.
That's what I thought. Maybe the weekend?
Probably not. Thank you, Juancho. Thank you, guys.
The difference between being a guy and a gal. There are many, but the birthday treatment is definitely a big difference.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Thanks for being with us. Bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. Good show lined up tomorrow. Pat Kerwin, Seth Everett, NASCAR driver Eric Amarola, who will join us in the bonus hour at 9 o'clock tomorrow. So there. So you got that going for you, which is nice. Hey,
I love it. You know me, David. Anytime we get more NASCAR on the show, I'm fired up.
I know that. I didn't say anything because I figured if you wanted to, you would, but I know you don't usually like to. But, I'm fond of you and all, so I want to wish you a happy birthday.
Well, thank you, David. I appreciate that.
Especially since
53.
Right. Especially since I asked her in the break, hey, you got any big plans tonight?
Big plans.
Birthday. I mean,
big plans.
Right. Are you being taken out? I mean, you treated your wife over the weekend to a phenomenal gift. She's a huge gymnastics fan.
Right. My birthday weekend, essentially, I sent her off to a gymnastics competition.
Right. And she even took your daughter for the weekend, a nice mother-daughter bonding moment that they'll remember. Okay. And so I figured since, you're such a good guy that, birthday tonight, I figured, big dinner plans.
Big.
So, right. So where are you going?
I'm going to drum practice with my daughter. I'm going to give her a sandwich as we head to soccer practice right after that.
Huh.
She'll get a bite in the car and
right.
Maybe I'll have the other half a sandwich with her if I'm really lucky.
I was going to say that, boy, I don't know what restaurant that is. You'll have to tell me how the
ham
meal
and
was.
cheese on white, it looks like tonight for a big dinner, David.
Well, we did discuss the value of a ham and cheese sandwich and where exactly it ranks last week.
It's homemade bread, so maybe that moves it up just a notch. It's not a day one sandwich. It's not even a day two sandwich. It's definitely a day three sandwich.
Okay, put it this way. Could you have acquired Cody Ford from the Bills if you were the Arizona Cardinals yesterday for a 5th-round pick with dinner tonight?
It is a homemade bread. I mean, maybe.
Homemade bread?
Yes.
Ooh, your 5th-round draft pick might be a little higher than Arizona's. That's close. That's close. That homemade may just, I may have to call Arizona back if I'm the Bills and go, hey, I'm sorry, man. Yeah, I was just talking with Miller. He threw in a homemade bread ham sandwich. They got you beat. Sorry.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
We start in 79 today. Not 1979, not 1879, but 79. Mount Vesuvius begins stirring on the feast day of Vulcan, the Roman god of fire. It would go on to destroy Pompeii.
79.
79.
Damn.
Going way back.
What administration was that?
A Caesar of some sort. We go to 1933, which the first televised boxing match occurred. It was a 6-round exhibition at the Broadcasting House in London between Archie Sexton and Laurie Rattardi. It was aired on BBC. 1936, 17-year-old Bob Feller's major league debut. 17-year-old, David. He struck out 15 in the 4-1 win over the St. Louis Browns.
Okay, once again, he's 17. It's his major league debut. How many strikeouts?
15.
Okay. All right.
Today in 42, Walter Johnson pitches to Babe Ruth in a pregame attraction at a doubleheader at Yankee Stadium that would draw 69,000 people and raise $80,000 for Army-Navy relief.
Man, they need to raise the prices. Get 69,000 people in the house, you only raise 80 grand. Dollar went a long way back then.
It did, David. It did. 1947, the first baseball Little League World Series in Williamsport, of course. The Maynard Midgets beat the Lock Haven All-Stars 16-7, David.
And was that broadcast on ESPN or ESPN2?
2. It's on the Deuce. They weren't wearing ties. 1963, the Beatles released She Loves You. 1968, the Yankees and Tigers played to a 3-3 tie in 19 due to a 1 a.m. curfew.
I used to love the old American League 1 a.m. curfew. I did. It called me just a sick whatever. I love the fact that teams were rushing. Mark, it reminded me, remember when you were in Little League and you only had the field for 2 hours, or if you were playing the last game and you were fighting against darkness, and you'd be playing normally for the first half of the game, and then you'd look at the game and you'd look at your watch and realize, hey, guys, we got to move this along. Everybody's got to swing. Okay, come on now. We got to get this in.
Today in 1988, Mitch Green and Mike Tyson had a 4 a.m. brawl in Harlem.
On the hood of a car.
Yes. And it was 2 years ago today that the Indy 500 ran on August 23rd because of the pandemic. And Takuma Sato of Japan wins his second title under caution. Those born today that are no longer with us. Louis XVI, he was guillotined. Gene Kelly, George Kell, British Open winner Peter Thompson, Who drummer Keith Moon, River Phoenix, and Kobe Bryant. Those that are still with us. Barbara Eden is 91 today. Rick Springfield and Shelley Long are 73. Goaltender Glenn Healy is 60. Ray Ferraro is 68. Tampa Bay Lightning head coach John Cooper is 55. Golfer Chris DeMarco is 54. Friend of the show Jay Moore, 52. Hugh Douglas is 51. And Jeremy Lin's 34. What did I miss?
Jeremy Lin, nice.
It's all for you, Felipe.
Well, I don't know if David has. Yeah, go for it.
Today was the day in 1989 that Pete Rose accepted and signed off on his punishment for betting on Reds games. Okay? I mean, people do, forget that part of it. It was actually negotiated because Rose thought he was going to get a fair shake in a year, which was part of the deal. It's a lifetime ban, okay, but we can review this in a year's time. Giamatti dies 6 days later, something like that. And after that, yeah, they weren't much interested in giving him his day. But it was 33 years ago. Pete Rose, his banishment from baseball.
And Felipe, what happened to the bubble today? He's got something.
I got my bubble
It's
stuff.
got to be a bubble story.
Yes, sir. In Lake Buena Vista, Florida in 2020, Game 4, Luka Doncic hits a step-back game winner, and Mike Breen gives us this amazing call.
Back to Doncic. Doncic pulls up, three-pointer. Bang! Bang! It's good! Doncic wins the game at the buzzer!
What game did he win, Felipe? Important part of this to be able to have who played and what the teams were.
He beat the Clippers. First round, Game 4. It'd go on to lose.
Oh, it's the first round.
Oh, first round bubble.
Wow.
I
Got
just
that
love
going for you.
that Mike Breen call. It's a double bang. Those are rare.
That is true. It's not often that it, plays of the day or whatever it is, good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap today was the day when that we have a quote double banger. That is true.
I'm hoping for one later.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
Well, David, we go to Ann Arbor, Michigan. And not because of Zingerman's Delicatessen, which could be the good every day, but because of Chris Compton. He is the founder of Goosebusters, Apparently, the Ann Arbor parks are having such a problem with geese defecating all over the area that he has started his border collies, Goosebusters, to chase off the geese and keep the defecating geese away from the Ann Arbor parks. Good for you, Chris Compton. Can't think of any other reason why you'd want to defecate all over Ann Arbor.
So, who are you going to call?
Goosebusters. That's it, David. You got it.
Nice.
For the bad, we go to Virginia, where a disgruntled customer was arrested after throwing a temper tantrum inside of a smoothie shop near Fredericksburg, Virginia. Kiana Lewis of D.C. was unhappy with the smoothie she received at the Tropical Smoothie Cafe and threatened to beat up the employee who had served it to her.
Why, of course.
Then she continued to scream at other staff in the store, going behind the counter, shoving an employee before being pulled away by a companion. But before she was able to be pulled away, she swiped 4 smoothies across the counter floor and tossed 14 Snickerdoodle cookies in the trash. No employees were injured in the incident. She was arrested in a parking lot nearby. Finally, the ugly. We go to Bartlett, Tennessee, where this character, I'm telling you, it'll never cease to amaze me what people do. But this is about Tim Sanders, who stole a car at a Burger King, then fired shots at another car. While the victims followed him, he shot and hit another car and then wrecked his car and then took off on foot. And you'd wonder how Mr. Sanders was able to get away. And finally caught. That's because, of course, after shooting at 2 cars and stealing the car that he was shooting in and disappearing from the scene, he left his wallet in the stolen vehicle.
Unbelievable.
He was apprehended and taken into custody. And that, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, August 23rd, 2022.
16 Major League Baseball games today and tonight. 15 of them in the evening. Cubs and Cards are playing 2, so they'll start that thing in the afternoon at Wrigley. Cards have won 8 in a row. Some good matchups tonight. Day 2 of Mets-Yankees. This will be their last game against one another this year in the regular season. No DeGrom tonight. The Mets decided actually to go with Tawan Walker. Mark, a lot was made by us of the attendance in Oakland for the A's-Marlins game last night. And, of course, they're playing again tonight. So if you weren't with us a few hours ago, 2,630 on hand in Oakland last night for the Marlins and A's. That's 2,630.
Now, it's a Tuesday. I think attendance will tick up a little bit. But do we put it at 3,000?
No, that's a little too low. I mean, I think wow. We're really going to set it that low. We're still not going to set the bar at $5,000 and see if they can make it.
Okay. You going to take the over at $5,000?
No. Actually,
you're going to take the over at $4,000?
Probably not.
You're going to take the over at 3,500?
Man, that's close.
3,300.
So we'll set it at 3,500. Fine.
I'll go under.
Set it there. I will as well. I do think it's worth noting, though, the Angels were at the Trop last night, and they drew less than 10,000. And Trout's back in the lineup. So you get both Trout and Ohtani tonight for a team that right now is the 4 seed in the American League playoffs. I will set the over-under at 11,000.
And I will go under.
They were 99.42 last night on a Monday.
School's back in session. I can't imagine it's going to go up that much. It should, but I don't think that it will. Maybe the fact that Trout played and people will realize that and want to go out and see him, maybe it gets over. I'll still take the under.
By the way, a couple of Guardians in San Diego to face the Padres. You'd think maybe the Twins and White Sox could take advantage, but the Twins are in Houston to face the Astros. Toronto and Boston. Big 3-game series for both. Red Sox back below 500 again, 2 games below. Time's running out, boys. 40 games left in the season. They probably need to I don't know, win 2 out of every 3 the rest of the way, that put 87 wins on the board. That'd be close.
Announcement out of the Dolphins came out too. They made a couple of roster moves, cutting Sheldrick Redwine and DeAndre Johnson and a punter, but they also placed Mackenzie Alexander on the IR. So he's done for the year. They just signed him.
Huh. Well, it's good for Mackenzie. He gets paid.
Yes.
Not good for the Dolphins, though.
No. And not
One
good
has
for
to
him. He wants to play.
Right. One has to wonder, though, in the next week, they're going to be able to get anything for a couple of wide receivers that they're likely to cut. And let's be honest, we're all looking at the Gesicki situation. I mean, see, this is where I think if you're a bad team, but you have cap room, make a bold move. It may not pay dividends much in the standings this year, but what's wrong with Mike Gesicki on your team for like the next 4 years?
There's nothing wrong with it, especially if you can steal him from somebody who really it just is a fit thing. This guy can play. He just doesn't fit the system.
Right. The Dolphins are going to get rid of Gesicki after this year. They're not going to keep him at his price tag. So the Dolphins are only trading away a guy who right now is a square peg in a round hole and is only going to be them for 1 more year. So I don't know that they could necessarily ask for what his true value could be in your offensive system, if you know what I mean. So I think a chance for somebody to get a weapon for the next few years for, who knows, maybe even like a 4th.
Things to keep an eye on. Remember, roster moves 80 to 85 today, so you'll probably see a trade or two happen in the National Football League. Great show for you tomorrow. Pat Kerwin and Seth Everett to join us. Thanks for listening today. We'll do it all over again, 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman?
I was just
CNN
answering the last question.
Yeah,
No
CNN
on
did
Otani.